No music. Running dry. Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
What's up, Nerf herders? We are live to the masses for our final watch party leading into the Snyder Cut, which, depending on what time zone you're in, is releasing tonight, or if you want to call it tomorrow. Um, yeah. If you're going to be one of those late night owls, let us know down in the comments below. Are you watching it right after? But right now, we are going to be watching Batman vs Superman: The Ultimate Edition, and
Mm-hmm.
we are joined by special guest from Victims and Villains, Mr. Josh.
What's
We have two
up?
Joshes this time
Yeah.
around, so
I
I
should have
actually
put
have
Cat
to.
Nostalgia on your tag, but
I have to.
yeah.
I have to differentiate between the two now.
You can call me Cap. There you go.
I will go. We'll go Cap. We'll go Cap for you. That'll keep the confusion away because I never call Josh Joshua. It's never happened, ever.
But that's my name, yo. That's my name.
Have you had a problem with me calling you Josh and not saying Joshua?
Yes, it's something that I
just haven't
scream in the
mentioned
shower
ever now?
about like every day. Yeah. Like Seth called me Josh again. Damn it.
It's
Yeah.
only like the 700th time. Maybe the passive aggressiveness just isn't working out for you anymore.
It's just building up. It's built. This is the reson why it's good that we're on virtual and not in person.
Things might get. Oh, Josh. Actually, let's go Cap first. How did you feel about Batman versus Superman the first time, on the first viewing that you did, and how long has it been since your latest viewing?
Okay, let me pull up my letterbox real quick. I can give you a exact
Give me an exact stat.
date. I saw this the night it came out, and I saw it the second time the very next day on the big screen. This movie just kind of, for me, I loved it right away. It came in a time where like my mental health like sincerely needed it because I was going through a really bad like time at my job. I had just gotten demoted, and this movie was just kind of like my safe haven, for lack of a better word, and like it just ended up being my mental health space. So like for anytime like I felt like really heavily in depression, I just went to the theater and I saw this movie, and it
Okay.
kind of lifted my spirits up. And to answer your second question, February 25th was the last time I watched this movie.
Okay. All right. So
Yes,
you're coming
exactly.
you're coming in fresh-ish.
Yes, we just did our Road to Snyder Cut series for Victims and Villains. We released
Mhm.
Suicide Squad yesterday, and we have Wonder Woman coming out Friday. So our BVS episode dropped last Friday.
Nice.
So, Josh, what about you? When was the last
Um.
time?
Oh gosh.
Because I
the
know
last
you saw it like right away.
Yeah, I saw it at midnight IMAX, man. I was waiting all day in line at the IMAX. So, because here's the thing: at that point, you couldn't reserve seats, and IMAX is one of those things. If you don't get it right, I just can't do it, man. I can't get a bad seat in IMAX because it sucks because it's so damn big. So if I'm going to IMAX and it's not reserved seating, I'm getting there at like noon. So I was like at the midnight screening of BVS, perfect seats, IMAX, and I had been hyped up for 2 years ever since they showed that trailer or the teaser trailer at San Diego Comic-Con. And I was ready. And I really loved Man of Steel. And I really looked forward to this movie, especially since I heard Wonder Woman was going to be in it. I understood that things like Doomsday was a little rushed and stuff, but I trusted that Zack Snyder would pull something together. I came out of it very, very satisfied, but I understood some of the complaints. And when I got around to seeing the Ultimate Edition, I felt like that evened out the film. From a narrative standpoint, and other things. But I think there were just narrative moments that felt rushed in the initial screening. I was still satisfied. I didn't come out saying, "Oh, that was just shit," like a lot of people did. But I do believe that the Ultimate Cut really did flesh out this movie, and I was extremely happy with the Ultimate Cut. The last time I saw it, it's been a minute. It's been like maybe 2 years since I've actually watched the whole thing, maybe longer, from start to finish. as much of a Batman fan as I am, it's been a while, and I'm almost ashamed of that. But I think it makes this even sweeter because I haven't watched it start to finish in a long time.
So, I might be breaking some news here, but I may not have actually seen the Ultimate Edition. Because my last viewing was like 3 years ago, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It was around the holidays. I was at a family event, and it was on one of the premium channels at the time, and one of my relatives had put it on, and they were letting the kids watch it. And I sat down. I'm a loner when it comes to family events. I don't interact too much when it's a huge gathering of people. So I sat there and I watched it. I do not remember, and I would have known if it was 3 hours long because that event felt like an eternity, and it did not feel like this movie was that long. So I am. Are you
telling me you watched Batman v Superman the only time at a family event?
No. I saw that was like my latest viewing.
Oh, okay. I was about to kick you off this stream.
No.
It's almost as bad as seeing it on like an airplane, and that's the only time you see it.
I'm talking my most recent viewing, and it was like 2 years ago. It has been a little while, because it was like it was 2016 when the movie came out, right? I'm pretty sure because I was actually injured throughout most of the year of 2016. I took a pretty bad ladder fall. I broke a knee. I dislocated a shoulder. I tore a bunch of ligaments in here. So I couldn't work. I was like stuck at home all the time. And so as soon as they were allowing me to walk, I was up doing whatever I could. So I remember seeing this in the theater relatively. It wasn't immediately. I think it was like a week or so after. But yeah, so my first viewing was pretty recent, and I came out of it not super stoked about it. And I shit on it a lot, and people who've watched episodes before know that I shit on it a lot, but I shit on movies that I like a lot too. So, I wouldn't call that a good judge of how I feel about the film. This is what this is for, but I don't know that I've seen, the Ultimate Edition. I feel like I've only ever seen, the full, so there might be some new stuff in here for me. But I could also be wrong, because I wasn't paying attention to the title that was given on that premium cable version that I watched a couple of years ago. I was just watching the movie. So
Josh, did you?
Again, that was a while ago.
You prefer the Ultimate Cut, I'm guessing, to the regular cut, right?
God, yes. I once I've seen the Ultimate Edition, I've never gone back to watch the theatrical cut. I've seen the theatrical cut so many times that like I know which parts are the Ultimate Edition, which parts are the theatrical edition, and it's like. It's just dumb stuff too that they like edited out. It's like, all right, we gotta cut it like 2 minutes here, like 30 seconds here, and it just makes it
31 minutes of footage. Like it's not like one of those extended cuts that's like we added 45 seconds. Try to find it. No, it's 31 minutes that they threw in there. So yeah, if you've seen the original enough, it's pretty easy to recognize.
I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen the film, and honestly, like. I this one didn't engage me quite as much the times that I did see it. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to watching this from a critical standpoint as we do our commentary today, and actually really pay attention to it, because I feel like I'm going to be able to come at it from a completely different perspective now.
Sure.
Yeah. Also, with the knowledge that the events of Joss Whedon's Justice League are not going to be so much of a tie-in from this as the Snyder Cut will, and it'll be really interesting to watch this very recently and then immediately follow it up with the Snyder Cut. Hopefully I have time to catch it this weekend.
Well,
so I'm looking forward to seeing this movie from a fresher perspective than I have in the past, and when I shit on it, it'll be in a jovial sense only, and not in
okay. Just know that our friendship is on the line, Seth. So just take that into consideration as you batter up your jokes here. Okay, just say
man,
so this could be the last post from Nerf Herders.
I was gonna say you're gonna need some thicker skin if this is a concern.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Well, for those watching at home, it's not going to show up on the screen. This is a watch party that requires your own copy. So whether you're watching on HBO Max or you've got your own copy like Josh and I do, we're going to do a countdown. 3, 2, 1, click, and then you'll click play at the click. And then throughout, Seth and I will, I think just, Seth will probably just give like a time counters, and we'll be talking throughout. So I think you'll be able to pick it up.
And I have a 16-second add-on to whatever time code you guys have, because they did put an ad for the Snyder Cut before this.
Okay.
So yeah, I am plus 16 seconds to whatever time code if you guys are not watching on HBO Max, which is where I am. So if you're watching along on HBO Max, you will fall roughly into the same timeline unless they gave you a different ad or something like that.
Sure.
But obviously we'll be talking about the scenes. We'll link up. So far, I mean, for the last two, we've done pretty good as far as like staying in the same, staying within seconds of each other.
But we're all on black screen before the credits, right? Or for the logos, right?
I hit skip, I hit pause, I skipped the ad, and it jumped me to 16 seconds.
I know Josh is working off a Blu-ray, so I don't, want to make sure he gets past the menu thing. Sometimes those things can load funny.
Oh no, I loaded it when we did our.
There you go. There you go. Josh is an expert. Here we go. All right, let's do the countdown. So we're gonna press play when I say click. So 3, 2, 1, click. Black screen.
Yep, and I'm getting that Warner Brothers logo right off.
There it is. There's that leaf.
Yeah.
Rat Pack.
Come on, streaming quality. Kick back up there for me.
Here's that music, that gorgeous music.
I love this score so much. I think I listened to this just as many times a week as I saw it in theaters altogether.
Mm-hmm.
And this opening monologue from Bruce, I think, just gives you a really great frame of mind of where he is as far as a person in his life. That you're not just meeting a Bruce Wayne that's like, fresh and naive. No, this is a worn and weary Batman.
Ultimate Edition. Now, this is what we were talking about last night, Seth, with how many times they've done Batman. People get tired of seeing this scene over and over and over again. But to be fair, this was the first time we've seen it in the MCU. So, if they reboot not the MCU, the DCU, if they reboot this again for a DC universe, it's going to happen again, Well, maybe not. I guess they skipped that with Spider-Man for the MCU, but
I don't know. How do you think they're gonna handle the origin story with the Batman next year? Do you think
that seems like it's year 2? So if they skip it all together, that'd be fine.
Yeah, that's what he was saying.
I feel like with the newer Batman, they might reference things back to it, kind of like they did with the latest Spider-Man. They know, be like, all right, we've gotten the origin story enough. We'll have him mention slightly stuff in the script for it, but that's it.
Get him. Jeffrey Dean Morgan is a badass. I love him so much.
It's really weird seeing him there with Lauren Cohan and seeing Negan and her together.
Negan and Maggie.
That was like, that's still
He
weird.
really did take everything from what's his face, didn't he?
Yeah.
He killed him with a bat and took his girl.
Transferred her back in time, and then
that's shot right
got
there.
her killed.
Mm-hmm.
You guys understand the importance of that shot right there, the pearls and the
Oh no,
gun,
of
right?
course not. Never. Yeah, that's that one's big.
Frank Miller, I believe.
Love it. Love it.
You can't
how many
knock
times you
Snyder's
see it?
cinematography skills.
It just looks
I guess
beautiful.
Not his, but I remember who was director of photography for this. versus Superman.
So I wanna know before we get too deep into it, where do you guys stand with Snyder as a filmmaker? Because I feel like it's pretty diversive. He's a pretty divisive filmmaker when you're talking to most people. You either love him or you hate him.
I guess it. Well, okay, so I can't. Yeah, there we go. Larry Fong, director of photography.
Mm-hmm.
I can't have it be that black and white, because I mean, let's just pull up his resume here for a second.
He's got quite an interesting resume.
Yeah, for sure. Which most directors will. Obviously, the film that he has a very distinct style.
Yeah.
That he has carried over across, and it was like popularized by 300.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be a hard thing to ignore. That style in all of his films and just be like, oh, that's just his style, and just put it that way. Because if you didn't like that, you're not going to like it when it carries through to everything else, because it is his style.
Sure.
So I can see why some people would be in the love him or hate him realm, but I can't have it be that black and white. As an aspiring filmmaker myself, I would hope that people would be able to look past maybe like an aspect of my cinematography or of my filmmaking, and kind of like look at it in the broader scope of the story that's being told in the film. And so far, when there isn't like like we were talking about this last night, when there isn't administrative fuckery going on, he can tell a good story. And I
love that widescreen that part. Mankind is introduced to the Superman. This was a big moment in the film where people realized that the Bruce Wayne was in Metropolis during this event.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Well, it gives him like firsthand, like I'm trying to I'm blanking on the word, but like it gives him like
we had to have more reason for Bruce Wayne to not like Superman.
Yeah. And like he sees the destruction like firsthand, like he's at ground zero for a lot of this stuff, and also like loses a friend to him, and like sees like Wally, get not decapitated, but like paralyzed.
He's there. He cares about his people. He's wanting to be there to be with them. He's not just some CEO that's like watching this from his lake house somewhere else.
Also, I feel like
Josh, can we get Cap turned up just a little bit? Now that we're in the film, I feel like he's going to get drowned out a little bit by some of the audio here.
I feel
for me anyway, I need to hear about like the crowd might be able. The crowd obviously can hear you just fine, but
I feel like this is the first time too we've gotten a Bruce Wayne that cares significantly about his company in this manner too. We've always kind of seen the Playboy Bruce when it comes to the Wayne Industries side of his character.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Bruce Wayne that realized that he doesn't get to do cool Batman things if his company tanks. So he had to care. But the only thing that I found weird about this scene is that he made that call, and then his business manager, or Jack, ended up like looking out the window. It was like, was that the first time you noticed that this gravity machine thing was going on?
He was looking out the window while he was taking the call. Yeah, it's not like that ship was just hanging out there for like an hour.
I don't know, man. This scene felt way longer in The Man of Steel than it does now.
Well, you're seeing the tail end of a lot of this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But it's interesting the areas of the city Snyder chooses to focus on to kind of show you the destruction. I think this too is the first time we've seen it in like a comic book movie where you are seeing the destruction like firsthand to this degree as well.
Well, from more of a perspective than just the news team suffering from it. Like, this is like, I don't want to make the comparison, but that would be like that we just got right there is a scene that you would expect from the inside of the World Trade Center when it came down.
Boy, like, it was very much meant to
pain that you would feel for somebody who's stuck in that situation with absolutely no options for getting out.
Yeah.
And then this moment again, also reminiscent of some of the same thing, because they're wanting it to be that level of tragedy. As at least as far as it relates to the characters, obviously not in comparison to like real Americans. It's a touchy comparison, even all this time after.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's the only comparison that we really like. This generation can actually like know that's like a real life thing, like something that took place on American soil. I mean,
well, and it's not like you're reaching. It was very much shot to mirror that. So
yeah,
that's the point.
I would also say that this is really the first time that we see the rawness of like post city destruction in a superhero film to this degree, which was another thing that maybe that kind of like turned people off a little bit.
Oh, for sure.
That it was just a little too real.
I don't think so at all. I think that's what most people complained about for Man of Steel, was that it didn't feel like there were consequences. This film starts off with, yeah, there are. And then that continues to be a theme throughout the thing. So anybody that was mad that, I think more people were mad about the end of Man of Steel than the beginning of this movie, because this directly reflects that criticism.
I'm not necessarily thinking of like people who are going in as fans. I'm thinking about the parents who brought their kids to this movie.
True.
And they're like, hey, this is going to be a fun Batman versus Superman thing. And because those are the same parents that took their kids to Deadpool and got really upset about how they found out about that film.
Yeah, well, I could give a shit about dumb parents, but we're watching an R-rated film right now, so who cares about the PG-13 version?
To Seth's point too, like Josh is like very on the nose. Like when you talked, there was a lot of backlash from the first few months after Man of Steel because of its ending, because of how dark it got. And this one, a lot of people were like, "Oh, superhero movies like aren't supposed to be this dark." And they're saying that mostly because Marvel has given people this formula and this idea of what a comic book movie should entail, whereas Zack Snyder presses back against that and says, no, actually what would happen if we looked at them through the eyes of our own world and not just this fantasy world where you get some action and a couple cool one-liners. That's one of the reasons I love, and this is a controversial thing to say this early, I love the reaction and like the realness of like the politics, the June Finch character, what they ended up doing with Lex Luthor in this movie. It reflects that so well. Like Snyder had a very distinctive vision, and he did a great interview recently where he was like talking and defending that vision. That I think, those of us that can kind of make the separation from and see what he was doing, you get to see like high class cinema with superheroes.
Things I liked about these initial movies was that they show a scope outside of America. I mean, the Man of Steel showed more parts of the world. So did Wonder Woman. So does this film. Already we're in a lot of different areas of the world in the first few minutes of the film.
Yeah, we're 12 minutes in. We've already been to Gotham, Metropolis, Africa, and the Indian Ocean. How do you guys feel about? I always like asking this question when I watch this with people. How do you guys feel about the Jimmy Olsen twist in this movie?
It was less of a twist for me and more just of a choice. You can only feature so many characters, and they just chose to make Jimmy less of a thing. He wasn't in Man of Steel. I don't think anybody missed him in Man of Steel. And it's not like this is the Lois and Clark show where you're going to have a lot of interactions and dialogues inside the Daily Planet. So the choice to not make Jimmy a huge thing, but to throw his name in there, it felt to me almost like the Robin name drop at the end of Dark Knight Rises. it's very much a Nolan thing. Like, oh, they threw his name in there. It's kind of a head nod, but that's about it. Yeah, that's right.
It's another gender I have to remember now. Fuck's sake.
You better watch out, terrorists. You're going to get canceled.
That dude's a evil henchman in
a lot.
I see him in.
Yeah, he is.
But
He's like, oh, is it?
he's actually like a legitimate villain in the comics, which I thought that it was interesting that they just kind of like left him at his like civilian alter ego instead of actually like adding him into the thing. I think it was a wise choice.
Why'd this dipshit bring a film camera to shoot for a journalist? Like, really?
I've seen this movie so many times and I've never realized that. Plot convenience.
See, if he'd had a digital camera, it wouldn't have been as easy to take apart.
Very true.
You did now, buddy. He is a dead man.
Is though.
Goodbye. So you asked earlier about how do we feel about Zack Snyder. I think the only Zack Snyder film I haven't seen is the Legend of the Guardians, that Owl movie. That's like the only one of his that I haven't seen, and I'm a huge fan of his style. I'm a huge fan of his scope. I feel like he always tries to maximize the time on screen with a big concept story and visuals to match. So much so that when Joss did the reshoots and they sprinkled in some of Zack's stuff, you could see the difference between the cinematography. There's a look that Snyder has versus other directors, and you could tell the difference. So I like his stuff, and I especially like his director stuff. Even Sucker Punch, the director's cut, is a lot better. So
I need to see the director's cut. And Legends isn't necessarily a bad movie. I don't remember. I kind of remember feeling neutral because I saw it in theaters, and I kind of want to go back and revisit it now, like being more refined in my cinematic taste. Especially a lot more appreciative of Zack's filmmaking over the years with Watchmen, 300, the DCEU.
He loves that flamethrower, doesn't he?
I have that exact earphone that he was wearing.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, I have that exact same flamethrower.
Just waiting on it.
Yeah, we got those were Shure's sound isolating headphones. For sure.
So yeah, I'm a fan of his, and I'm a fan of his extended works. I think he puts a lot of passion on screen, and I think he did a lot of really good work for WB before the DC movies, and I think they kind of really shit the bed with how they handled him, especially with how much he had done for them before these movies, to treat him like that. So it's kind of sad.
Yeah, I'm curious too to see how this new zombie heist movie he's doing for Netflix, how that's going to be in terms of like, because like you're saying, like he is a filmmaker that does scope so well, and if you want to allow him to like tell a story and tell it properly, like he's a guy that you can't just hand a 90-minute script to and say go do your thing. Like he's going to take 2 or 3 hours to tell that story, and zombies, I mean, are a pretty cut and dry thing. They're not as complex as the world of superheroes, but a lot of what he's doing right now with Army of the Dead is going to be like almost like stepping into a franchise, because he's also working on a prequel series for it as well. So I'm curious to see how that's going to end up handling out. Do you guys have any expectations for that one?
Well, now that I know that there's going to be a prequel series to it, I'm less anxious about it. Honestly, I'm sick of every film out there having to be part of a universe of some kind. Like, I have the same complaint about the Godzilla versus Kong film that's coming up here. It's like, yes, they gave them individual films beforehand and a couple films for Godzilla beforehand, and they're just continuing on and on and on with this cycle here. First of all, I'm gonna watch it, but it's already had some fuckery going on with it too, with Crystalia being involved and then having to be nixed, and various different reshoots, COVID interruptions. Like, I'm interested to see what they do to salvage that one.
Ooh.
But
I forgot about COVID and a lot of the behind the scenes stuff for that one too.
Every film that I've been excited to see that ended up having a bunch of production issues ended up disappointing me to some degree, because again of that administrative fuckery that seems to happen with studios now, who just don't seem to be happy enough about trusting the artists to do their job and to tell the story that they want to.
Which is weird with Netflix, because like a lot of the ones that I've seen from them lately have been kind of like subpar, or like just like haven't been good but haven't been great at the same time. So I was really excited about Zack Snyder coming to that platform, but I think you're right. I think it's a cautious tale now with it.
Well, let's not forget, he did Dawn of the Dead, so it's not the first time he's done a zombie film in a smaller scope. This one looks like a larger scope because it's Vegas and he's going to have fun with it. But it's also Netflix, and Netflix gave Scorsese all the time he wanted. I'm sure they're going to do something similar for Snyder. But look at this. So 20 minutes into this film, and they've addressed the, that even the Senate holds Superman responsible for his actions, and whether or not that was part of the plan all along, I can't believe it wasn't part of the plan, but it's definitely an answer to those people that are like, he needs to, there needs to be some accountability for what happened. So I like that they made that upfront, addressing that.
For our HBO Max watchers, I am at the 21-minute and 20-second mark right now.
This was a great intro to this version of Batman.
Oh man,
thought this was creepy as hell.
I love too how run down and like impoverished, I want to say too, Gotham feels in this, because it definitely feels like this for the first time like needs a Batman. And also this is the first time that we're seeing Batman take on something like sex trafficking and human trafficking, as well as a real life issue. So again,
they don't want to come out.
No. Why would you? The Batman's scary.
They're calling it It. They're calling Batman It. It's still here. Yeah, this is definitely projects. We saw projects in Batman Begins.
We did.
Narrows,
this is a lot more Arkham era-esque.
Yeah.
This is like the real rundown. If this feels more real as far as like the Narrows, especially compared to Batman Begins. Batman Begins, they made the Narrows seem like it was this autonomous zone that was created.
Like there's segregation almost.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I even like I
well,
can't
that goes
see
hand
Gotham
in hand
ever
with
getting to that.
I mean, in the comics it does a little bit, but
yeah, the Narrows of like Batman Begins almost feels like No Man's Land, and that big
That's
comic
how they
event
portray
that
it.
they did. Yeah. Whereas
They say cops only go there in force. Like they made it to seem like it was just this lawless area that only Batman and the Brave would go to. But I think they took it just a little too far.
This is so great. He's up and I love it. I love this reveal.
He's
He's
incredibly
freaking
fast.
climbing on the ceiling.
So fast.
Yeah. That's what you get for not following your partner upstairs.
Oh, one more reason I'm excited for the Snyder Cut. More J.K. Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
One of the many things I feel like they did dirty with as Alan's podcast calls it, Justice League.
Justice League. That's a much better shorthand than the Whedon cut. I like that a lot. I like that a lot more.
You have to watch this podcast. Won't take any credit for that one.
Yeah, we had fun. We had fun having Alan on last week for Man of Steel.
It's an important distinction that when Cap said you have to watch this podcast, he wasn't talking about ours. That's the actual title of Alan's podcast.
I mean, you didn't have to say it. I we could take that. That's fine.
You do indeed have to watch.
You do have to watch the
Nerfers.
Nerfers podcast.
See, this film, this extended cut gave Lois more of a story, and more purpose. I agree.
Well, it makes everything more cohesive, whereas the original assignment that she's in Africa doing just feels like, why is she here? Like what is her purpose throughout the course of this? And then by the time that she hooks up with General Swanwick later in the movie, her and Lex both feel like they have a more rounded arc throughout the course of it. And man, talking about the Lex Luthor arc throughout this movie is so good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying there's a cost.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting too that he doesn't care about the cost when it comes to Lois.
Yeah, but at the same time, there was no cost. He didn't do anything wrong when he saved her. He just wasn't as diplomatic about it. But,
yeah,
that scene clearly shows that woman framing him for burning bodies, which is not what happened. So, he
had some Black Ops shit not been involved, this wouldn't have happened. It would have been, Superman saved the day.
But no, the terrorists. I mean, had Lex's men not been trying to frame Superman, then this wouldn't have happened.
Nope.
But it is interesting that Lois and Clark are more the investigators of this show, and Lex and Bruce are they're very similar in that they're both trying to find reasons to hate Superman. Lex is straight up trying to frame him, and Bruce is trying to find a way to take him down.
Well, so to that point, it's revealed that, obviously with the beginning of the film, we see that Bruce was in Metropolis the day of the Zod Superman fight. So he saw firsthand the damage that, he could do. Secondly, as it gets explored with the Wally character throughout the course of this movie, Lex uses him as almost like a fuel for the fire to have the Superman Batman rivalry be concentrated.
Mm-hmm.
always been criminals. Nothing's changed. Superman changed everything.
I watched Die Hard with a Vengeance too soon to see Jeremy Irons in this good guy role.
Didn't realize how much I appreciate Jeremy Irons as an actor until I got older.
Well, their dynamic here is
we only ever knew him as Scar, and we hated Scar.
yeah.
Like,
All right, here we go. Zuckerberg.
I also knew him from that terrible 2000 Dungeons and Dragons movie that we don't ever talk about.
This is the unofficial sequel to The Social Network.
I knew it. How do you guys feel about him being a junior? Does it matter at all?
No, not really.
I mean, I don't know if they were ever setting up that the real Lex, I think a lot of people were hoping that someone like Bryan Cranston would come and be like, let Daddy do it. He's the real Lex. I don't know if that was ever the plan or if that was just like something they started leaning towards when people responded to him differently. But he's a modern Lex. He's the Mark Zuckerberg of DC, and I didn't think he was terrible.
Look, I'm just gonna put it out there, a bold statement. I love his portrayal of Lex. I get a lot of crap for that, but I think that the way that Snyder handles his character arc throughout the course of this movie, from like being the like very intelligent Lex that we know from the comics, and like slowly being just like deteriorating as the film goes on till he finally like just bursts at the end of it. I think they did a phenomenal job with his character arc, and like all of like the cunning behind the scenes stuff that he's able to do is really awesome as well.
Yeah. I think people just, he's got a quirkiness about him that I think rubs people the wrong way, and it works in certain movies, and maybe it was just turned up too much in this film, and that's why people, turned against his portrayal. I think there's great moments of him in this, but sometimes his quirkiness gets too crazy for this movie, and it turned people off.
Yeah, and I think too it goes back to that thing we were talking about with WandaVision, where you have like people were let down by the finale because they had all of these like high expectations, and then they were just like really let down when none of those expectations were met. And here I think like you're talking going back to like, oh yeah, Bryan Cranston, like they wanted an older seasoned veteran actor to play Lex. And that's not necessarily the vision that he had in mind.
Expectations are a dangerous thing, and unfortunately they've ruined a lot of films coming through. But if we're going to stick to the DC universe, there was expectations that sowed doubt in Heath Ledger playing Joker. It was expectations that were sowing doubt into Ben Affleck playing Batman, and it is now expectations that are sowing doubt into Robert Pattinson playing Batman, even though we have even less of a reason to believe that he would not be able to pull it off really well.
Sure.
Yeah. That even goes back to the days of Keaton. Like, I remember people like reading stories about people like raging about how they were like, oh, this comedian can't play this complex
The dude
character
from Multiplicity is going to play Batman? Yeah, there's a lot of that.
But
the difference here is, I think when people saw that Jesse Eisenberg was cast as Lex, that this is what they were afraid of. And I'm saying I understand that because he brings too much of his quirkiness that he has from other roles to this, instead of instead of, I don't know, bringing something else. So I think people's expectations were on point. If they don't like Jesse Eisenberg in other roles, they're not going to like him here. He's very much the same that he is in other films.
I guess maybe I don't watch enough Eisenberg films to kind of like make that distinction. I just really enjoyed like what they were able to do with like Lex, because Lex is a character that has been done in so many different like mediums, like whether you're talking about Hackman or Rosenbaum or even the animated series and the animated movies. Like Lex is a villain that we're all very familiar with by this time. And so how do you make something that's going to be different and unique? Take him, you make him younger, you show his origins about how he becomes the famous villain that we all know. Yeah. And I think that having him do that was like having them bring Eisenberg in here was a bold choice. And I mean, let's be honest, like Snyder's had a lot of unconventional casting for his movies. There was pushback when Cavill got announced for Superman. They were like, you can't have a British guy play Superman. I still don't understand that. Ben Affleck, like Seth was saying, like got a lot of pushback. Gal Gadot got pushback. Jason Momoa definitely got pushback, but Eisenberg I think got the worst of it, unfortunately.
This is a weird ass statue, though. It's a bit godly. It's a bit godly for a statue of a dude that caused so much destruction on his first day. I think even Superman would have been like, I don't know about that pose.
Well, it too, like it never feels like the two movies that we've gotten with Superman, Man of Steel, and BVS that Clark is ever actually raised to be the Superman that we know. Like the death of Superman that happens at the end of this movie, spoiler alert, it happens. But I think that was kind of their saying, okay, hey, the Superman that is dead, because it still feels like he's searching throughout the course of this movie about what it means to be a hero. And I think that everything that he learned, quote unquote, in the grave, and when he was going to like resurrect in the Snyder Cut, I think it's going to be like the Superman that we know.
Yeah. Clark's following a story.
For the first time.
Yes.
This was interesting to have Gotham across the bay from Metropolis. I don't think that's ever been done before. I felt like they were always like Gotham was more like Detroit, or something like that, and Metropolis was more like Kansas City. Like they were farther apart for the longest time in the comics and in other mediums.
The only other time that I can think of that like Gotham and Metropolis was this close was Batman Forever. There's an offhanded comment where Bruce says, the Stargate must be halfway to Metropolis by now, which implies it's rather close. So, I wouldn't imagine it's like a bay close, but at least like a couple hour drive, maybe like the way that the Arrowverse depicted Star City and Central City distant wise.
This is awesome that a billionaire CEO is just at an underground fight club.
Really out of character.
Well, I think this is like we've never gotten it on screen before, but I think this was kind of like Snyder's like raising the bar, saying I'm going to bring us closer to that detective version.
I love it.
Same.
I don't know.
But just think if you would see.
It seems a little too reckless for.
Yeah, could you
Bruce
imagine
Wayne
the
and Batman to
reporters
me.
if Elon Musk showed up at an underground fight club or something like that?
No kidding. Like the Bruce Wayne that should be very, very aware of the
But
of the image of Bruce Wayne and how important it is. And
But clearly,
especially since we were just talking about how we're looking at a Bruce Wayne who's more in tuned with the importance of his company being successful and staying out of the limelight for negative reasons.
I quote that all the time.
But I feel like I get what you're saying, Seth. I feel like that's part of his character in this film, that he's just so far gone. He doesn't give a shit about anything. He doesn't care about his image anymore. He doesn't care about rules. He doesn't care about Alfred's clear distaste for what he's doing. He's just he's tired. He's done. He's worn out.
Well, I mean, yeah, too. Frank Miller captured that in a lot of this movie. Going back and rereading Dark Knight Returns, right around the time I rewatched this movie this year. There's a lot of Frank Miller influence that I hadn't caught onto prior to other viewings, but reading that book and then reading some of the issues and then watching this, I can see the Miller and the layer that he brings from different source materials.
Yeah.
He doesn't look much like a nerd, Morpheus.
No.
He looks like a pretty boy playing nerd, which is exactly what's going on.
A mess.
Yeah, dial it back, bro.
I don't know. It kind of gives him it's a very quick throwaway line, but it kind of gives his gravity.
His quirkiness was just up a little too much.
That's
I don't
fair.
have a problem with the line. It's just his quirkiness around it.
That's fair.
Too up right now.
Wait till I'm interested to hear your commentary.
Oh, it absolutely gets worse. I'm watching this from a critical eye right now.
That's fair.
Yeah, she's the closer. She ain't fucking around.
Also, would you need to go through this much trouble to import a mineral from another country? I don't know anything about that stuff, so
a lot of people said that. A lot of people said, "Why did he even bother with this?" And I think it's just part of who Lex is. He likes to manipulate people, and he's been in politics in the past. And I think just he's always sowing seeds somewhere. So he's sowing seeds with Bruce Wayne's past employees. He's sowing seeds with Superman. He's sowing seeds with the public eye and the political eye. So I think, yeah, he didn't need to do that. He could have easily just done it by himself, but I think he was just trying to. It's all, it's all just him having fun with things. And if it's not going to get away into his master plan, then it's just like making it fun for him.
I mean, he does it anyway, so.
Mm-hmm. So this was part of the ultimate cut for sure. This scene.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite sequences, honestly. Like,
I don't
seeing the
remember
blood,
this.
and then you do not remember.
Okay,
this?
well, don't spoil it. Then
I don't really
Seth hasn't
this.
seen it.
Hey, I've seen that villain before.
So that reminded me of the deleted scene from Batman Forever, where Val Kilmer has a very up and close encounter with a man-sized bat, and I liked that throwback.
It reminded me of Arkham Knight when the bat jumps out you out of nowhere as soon as you like lasso up to a building.
Right?
Yeah. And that scared the piss out of me way more than this did.
Really Screen Rant, Josh, to your point, Screen Rant actually wrote a piece comparing those two scenes.
Did they?
That was actually really interesting the way that they did it. But I just love that like juxtaposition because like, he still holds the like the death of his parents like so closely to like the Batman, and kind of also forget like sometimes I think he's like so wrapped up into this like quest to like kill Superman that like he kind of forgets why he's in here. But that also comes from the weariness of doing this for 20 years.
Mm-hmm. See, yeah, he's just too far gone.
Tape.
He's Alfred's trying to rein him back, he's making comments about his drinking, he's making comments about you can still do a lot of investigative work without the suit,
I'm really hoping the Snyder Cut kind of like has a flashback to explain that suit.
Even if it doesn't, just the fact that it's there adds depth to this, Like he lost somebody, and it's clearly had to do with the Joker, and that's
Well, he was holding a staff, which is Robin's primary weapon.
Yeah. So here's,
I mean, Jason Todd, like that callback to like Joker, that'd absolutely be something that Joker would do, is to kill him and then spray paint his armor when Batman finds him.
Here's the thing though about this version. Sorry, Seth, is that it's like Snyder's gone on record actually saying that the dead Robin of this universe is actually Dick Grayson.
Which it doesn't matter. No. I mean, they never dropped that in the show, and it doesn't matter. It adds history. And there's a moment in the comics when Batman was just so far gone after losing Jason Todd, and it took a while for him to rein him back in. And so, this is a storyline where he never got reined back in.
I think I want to say the cemetery at the end, they have him that's a cemetery where someone like actually like paused, and there's supposedly like a Dick Grayson grave during that scene that you can see. People of Reddit that have way too much time on their hands.
Sure. So we watched Wonder Woman last night, but in reality, that released after this film. So I always thought this was an interesting way to bring in Wonder Woman. But God, she's great in this film too.
Agreed. They did it really smart with her, and I think they did a good job at also setting up the Justice League. Like, I know some people have like their issues with the metahuman files in this movie, but I think it's a subtle touch. There's a lot of world building that he does here, boy, while also telling a cohesive story.
I do love how the assistant knew enough that he shouldn't be in that room, but then let a chef like distract her, and she left him in that room. I would have been like, figure it out in the kitchen. I'm dealing with some dude in the server room. A little more important.
Why is your server room door unlocked?
Right.
He still rubs me the wrong way. I can't get around it.
Well, no one defends that. There's a lot of scenes like that are just bad. There's other scenes where I feel like he is good, but yeah, that quirkiness, that's what everybody feared, and that's what he brought to the table. So it's no surprise that people didn't like that.
I'm good for it, man. I think it shows like, this like unhinged psychotic version of Lex that we haven't really seen before. But again, like I don't really know what they were going for in that version. So, God,
well, sure, you talk about expectations, but I think Lex has always been the stoic mastermind, not the unhinged, can't finish a damn sentence in front of a crowd, person. And I think that was a stark change. It would be like if Tony Stark was reimagined as some shy dude that had, a lisp. I don't think anybody would be like, oh, that's a creative choice. Interesting. Like that is crazy different to the tone and the person that Tony Stark is, So I think people were just kind of rocked. Like, it's interesting, but it's so far of a departure. It's not recognizable to people. And that's why all those theories about, oh, it's his son, it's not really Lex, were so prevalent because people just did not want to believe that this was Lex Luthor.
I mean, this is this version of Lex Luthor. It's still a junior, nonetheless, but I think that they have that junior so that the way they could like take what people know about that character and then like make it his own the same time, because like at the end of the day, like it's these characters are always going to be adaptations. They're pulling from multiple different sources trying to create an amalgamation. And I think that, just as we've never seen this version of Bruce Wayne before, we've never seen this version of Lex Luthor before, this is, and we've never seen this to a degree, we've never also seen this version of Clark Kent / Superman. So I think you're doing a super solid job by, bringing all of these characters and setting them in this like really grounded estate. Again, Wonder Woman.
Love how Wonder Woman steals his shit and then just waits around and be like, yeah, it was me. And then walks away.
Have you guys ever seen the so that dinner scene, like the first meeting between Bruce and Clark and Lex? Have you guys ever seen the parody video that they did with Jimmy Kimmel?
Yeah.
No.
It's pretty funny.
Seth,
it goes on a bit long, but it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's like, you're Batman. You're Batman.
Also,
so gorgeous.
Yeah. I would say this is probably also one of my favorite sequences in this movie. where you're getting to kind of like, this is the Superman thesis scene, right?
Yeah, let's let it play out here. Real.
God, this imagery.
And that score, man.
Hans and Junkie did a great job. Yes, this is the scene I was thinking about. The Superman question.
I hate that concept.
How every act is a political act.
Yeah. We're at 54 minutes and 40 seconds for HBO Max viewers.
Oh, they brought him back from Man of Steel. He was the conspiracy theorist guy.
They brought it back in a more serious role, though.
Well, he
I don't know.
gained quite a bit of credibility in that movie. When he,
Yeah. Neil deGrasse Tyson. I love it.
Also feel sequences like this montage of commentators helps the film feel more grounded in reality. We're talking about why people necessarily maybe didn't like this movie was because it felt too real. And I think that, you know, when you're talking about politics of, you know, the Superman, if Superman existed, this is what it would feel like.
Yeah, you're seeing the two sides. You're seeing the people that are there on the ground when he's saving people and they're praising him. And then you're seeing the people that are paid to talk, and it's inevitably going to turn to negative speculation. So, yeah, that felt very real.
We've all called mom in the middle of the night.
I don't think I can honestly say I have.
All right, Josh.
All right, tough guy.
Weirdo. Yeah.
I think the latest I've ever called my mom was like 11:15.
That's the middle of the night. That's mom. That's a middle of the night for mom. Mom was in bed at 8 o'clock. What are you thinking?
Not my mom.
I remember the theories that this was
That girl.
wasn't she? Yeah. No, she was she was the female Robin from Dark Knight Returns. Whatever that character's name was, I forgot it.
Stephanie, I think. Or maybe I'm thinking of no, I think I'm thinking of the mute girl.
Such a small role, but
Harry Kelly, that's the girl's name.
Why would they kill him with the brand? Oh, like, I still don't get it. It's like, why would they kill him just because they had the brand on there? It's like, fuck, Batman got you too? Be like, yeah, he's a dick. He even branded my skin, the asshole.
Lex.
if you haven't seen the extended cut, it reads into that a little more.
Okay.
Yeah.
which is another reason, because I agree that was something that people talked about.
There's our R rating.
Nah, you can have one F-bomb in a PG-13 movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we've also had Ben Affleck ass and almost Amy Adam boobies and all
All
sorts of
that
other
stuff was
line
in the
crossers that they
theatrical
don't like for
version, though.
PG-13.
Oh yeah, almost isn't. Oh, look at him. He's all cleaned up and everything.
Extra insulting since he can't walk. They wouldn't have the meeting like that. They wouldn't do it. He'd have a lackey tell him or drop a kite to him or something like that.
He is a lackey.
Yeah.
He's
He
Lex's
seems like,
lackey.
he seems like a pretty high up lackey, though. There's a lot of risky plays. That's all I'm saying. A lot of ballsy moves being made by the players in this one.
Lex is a hands-on kind of guy.
How is it ballsy though? If this is Lex's plan, no one's gonna see that dude and think Lex. They're gonna think
No,
that dude.
It's the high level lackey actually going in there and talking to the dude on the phone, dropping a hit on a recorded phone line.
Yeah, well, if that's what Lex wants him to do.
True. How do you guys feel about how they handled?
It's like, you do have your claws out for this one. I'm barely shitting on anything here. Like, all right, I'm gonna bounce right back at Seth, this motherfucker who keeps calling me Josh and not Joshua.
How do you guys feel about the handling of Swanwick in this one?
Hey, Derpy Gaming, how's it going?
Oh yeah, is Derpy back? What's up, man?
Derpy's back, and he's got HBO Max. Derpy, just so you are aware, we are at the hour, 1 minute and 8 seconds on HBO Max.
Oh, they even brought back the captain chick from MOS. That's the first time I saw her in there. The whole, he's kind of hot. She was back there.
Some people think that they gender bent. Or wait, that's Carol Ferris. I do.
I love how the new guy is telling the editor-in-chief when this place was founded. he's like, shut up, new guy.
It also feels outdated that they had Jon Stewart in this movie.
I know.
Just a little bit, but I like it.
Yeah.
He's a frail old dude now.
He's
him.
still making movies, though, isn't he?
Yeah, but he's like, he hasn't let himself go. You can just tell he's like, he's older. Like ever since he stepped off the television, yeah, he's older.
He makes rare television appearances, but
Mm-hmm.
I think he should be making more, but especially in these days.
He's also made a few Senate appearances, which are always like heartbreakingly real.
Yeah, well, he's got a great cause fighting for the 9/11 Victims Fund and First Responders Fund.
I mean, he doesn't look terrible. I pulled up a couple of pictures of him. Like, he hasn't let himself go. He's just.
I'm just saying he's aged.
Just like
he's
every
no
other
longer in front of the camera.
Just like every retired TV show host, he decided to just stop shaving.
But he looks so much better with a beard.
He does.
I mean, he's not Letterman.
Does.
He's not Letterman beard, but yeah, he definitely stepped away from that razor.
See, unlike Darcy, this person has a reason to be a computer expert because she spent fucking decades working on that shit. She was around for the first computer.
This is very true.
Yeah, but she likes old stuff, not new stuff.
She would have to get good at using new stuff, though.
I feel like
It
every
makes sense.
time we see her though in the DCEU minus 84, like she always feels like she's like very privy to like the trends and like both fashionably and like technologically of the time.
I mean, she was very much fish out of water for the first Wonder Woman.
Oh, absolutely.
I think you've ever met a woman
mean,
like
when you-
me.
when
That's
you
very
get to-
true.
When you get to grow up, or not necessarily grow up, but when you spend as much time in the modern world as she ends up doing, she's gonna have to like blend in a little bit.
Freaking nightmare sequence.
There we go.
Best damn part of the movie.
I think he, when the trailer for the Snyder Cut came, I almost feel like he should have kept this out and let it be a surprise.
Right. Although the
God, that war symbol.
the IMAX footage for the remaster of this film is mostly from the nightmare sequence, and gosh, it looks so good. This was very high concept, but I'm so glad they did it. It's just neat.
Again, this goes back to the world building that Snyder established, and also I'm like very like anxious to see more of this world in the in Snyder Cut, but I'm also like I don't want to see it because I know that like Snyder Cut, from what I read, is supposed to like leave off on like a massive cliffhanger. And
Well, his original plan was to have things go pretty bad in the Snyder Cut and to kind of have future films sort of be the solution, and
that's not going to happen now. Apparently,
yeah, things were gonna be batshit crazy, and then and unfortunately, things between Snyder and Warner Brothers just did not pay off in the manner in which he was hoping. I'm sure that everybody was hoping, really.
Yeah,
set his ass up.
Really hope that they'll consider doing it in like a comic book form at some point, so that we can at least
Superman freaking SWAT troops or death troops. God, that's a cool aesthetic.
I don't understand though. I think one of the things that like makes me so curious about this world is that I don't understand why Superman needs both like the SWAT troopers but also the parademons as well.
And who's to say that he did? You know, I don't.
That's also true.
You know, the suit people are definitely wearing his brand, but you know, the parademons could have just been like coming down. You know, not necessarily with Superman, but yeah.
Feels very
just the chaos of this scene. I love it.
Yes.
I just love the one take nature that he did with this action. So it's like none of these bullshit quick cuts that you see. I won't say bullshit quick cuts, but like in a lot of action films, there's just so much camera work to kind of try and add impact instead of having it be.
Okay, actually, no, that does look like they were working together. So you're right, Josh. My bad. It does look like they were kind of working in tandem.
I mean, it could be like the parademons like operate the sky, and then you have like the SWAT guys that are like groundwork.
Superman's basically reigning in Darkseid's name. You know, then he would be Darkseid's general here on Earth and have his own regiment of parademons.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's the idea. Though in the comics they have tried to make Superman a parademon. I like that concept a lot more than this like out of context nightmare Superman that we get, especially because like it just feels like this is a dream or a nightmare that Bruce is having rather than like actually like world building.
I still like this.
So do you guys remember the press reports from the Justice League set back in 2016?
Hold up.
The suit that Barry has in the Justice League movie that we saw was like his own like homemade version, and then the
Yeah.
suit that he has in that particular sequence, Bruce actually designs for him.
Yeah, I kind of figured that. Just similar to Tony designing Peter's,
Well, that's
next
classic like
version
Justice
2.
League stuff is Bruce designing stuff to help the entire team.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of innovations there. I like Ezra Miller as Flash. I know he was another
good.
divisive character, but I like not quite as much as the others, obviously. But I just think I don't know. Maybe I just like Ezra Miller because I
He
haven't
is
seen anything that I
likable.
don't like him in.
I don't think I can't remember him being a very divisive character. I know he was different. I thought a lot of people liked him, but his recent off-camera drama lately has made him a divisive choice as an actor.
Sure.
But maybe I just don't remember that. But I thought the general tone was that most people liked him because I liked him too.
I think most people didn't like the way that he was written in Justice League's theatrical cut, mostly because a lot of like his like one-liners and like his attitude feels a lot more on brand with like Marvel characters than it does actually the character of Barry Allen. Barry Allen, like, yeah, he can be a comical guy, but I think they kind of took him a bit too far when they did him.
Well,
So,
that was Joss's injection. He even took scenes from his previous Marvel films and copied them over to Justice League.
yeah.
So that's not surprising. I like this exchange.
Same. Though the one thing I will give Whedon the Pet Cemetery remark. It's still so funny.
Yeah, that was funny.
I want to
You
explore
live
this
long
world.
enough to see you either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
It's on brand with that for sure. I did like that though. I mean, you want to root for Batman, but when he says things like 1% chance, we have to take it as an absolute certainty. That's how you know he's like dug in. He's beyond being reasoned with, and he has to be, pulled out of that somehow.
Yeah. Dear God, I want so much more of this world. Every time I watch this movie, I get so sad that we don't get a Batman Ben Affleck movie as of right now. Fingers crossed that changes.
does he go?
Collects the seals 3 times. Off to Kansas.
Oh, Morpheus.
I love him. He's great. He's a great Perry White.
I have to go to the bathroom so bad, but this is one of like the best parts coming up here.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Like,
You better sprint or you better hold it. One of the
I
two.
know. It's-
I remember this shot teased with that rifle. That's very much Dark Knight Returns.
Yes.
I love it so much.
No complaints here, man. This is such an excellent sequence.
In fact, it's on the front of my Dark Knight Returns book, him with that long gun. So yeah, he's got that. I love it. Snyder's great about that. You know, Nolan was too. Nolan was just a little more subtle with it, but Snyder, to his credit, man, if you want it, if you want that comic book goodness on screen, he'll bring it. Too slow.
Wilhelm scream.
That was a Wilhelm scream.
There it was.
Who even allows that anymore? Like, can you not
Derpy's
just hate
asking.
it, dude?
Derpy's asking who's staying up. I am not. I will not be staying up for the Snyder Cut. I have to work in
staying
the
up
morning,
for Snyder Cut?
unfortunately.
Derpy, remind me what time zone you're in.
I think he was an hour ahead of us.
Okay, so it's
So he's East Coast then.
because it's 2 a.m. dropping for me. So
Yeah, I'll be sound asleep. So I'm hoping for ASAP this weekend, but we'll see what happens.
I'm gonna watch it tomorrow, but I don't think I'm staying up. I'm too tired, man. I got 4 hours of sleep last night. I couldn't stay up if I tried. You want to give Jeffrey the timestamp? Welcome back, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm at an hour and 17 minutes and 17 seconds on HBO Max.
If you're watching on your own copy, it's 1:17:10 right now. Brings out the high-tech bazooka.
Got here right in time, Jeffrey. It's the best part.
Yeah, way to get here on the awesome scene.
Arguably one of the best parts of the movie, if not
Sure.
the.
Warehouse, bro. Warehouse.
I love how he just drives through the building. It's great.
It's always fun to see this version of the Batmobile after using it in Rocket League a lot. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it was like the perfect vehicle to add to Rocket League.
That dude is dead. He messed that dude up.
Yeah, this Batman kills.
I love how he just took out that ship, too. He's just like, I don't give a fuck.
No, you did not have that much time. I'm still calling that one out. I don't care.
Okay, now, I don't know why I was always confused. Does he step on the brake or the gas?
Gas. Or sorry, brake. Because if you notice the way that he responds, it's kind of like this like oh poop moment for him.
Yeah, but I get that. But then I couldn't tell if he was riding the brake while he was drifting or he was riding the gas and then he tried to stop. Did he try to run him over or did he try not to hit him? Which one was it?
I think he tried not to hit him. Because, I mean, he knew that it would cause more damage to the car than it would to him.
Sure.
I like that line. I don't care if it's out of place or anything like that. I like that line.
I
also
really
like his voice modulator. Even though
I do too. He doesn't have to strain his own throat every time he speaks. I didn't think
it just makes sense for Bruce Wayne, you know? Like he would disguise his voice in a fancy, luxurious way.
Right. Instead of having to like buy out Walgreens, stock of lozenges every time he goes out.
Yeah. His Batcave in this definitely reminds me of the Family Guy episode where Stewie's like talking about how Batman's identity's been revealed. It's like, yeah, you had like 100 workers in here building a Lazy Susan for your Batmobile.
Yeah.
People talk. Like,
well, maybe he killed him in this one. Who knows?
Yeah, man, I might have. All right, I have to go to the back. I can't hold it anymore.
All right, bye-bye. I do love how they did that whole semi just for that crate. Like they could have just
put it in the
back of a car and been a lot faster. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, this, we talk about like how every incarnation of these characters are origin stories. This is not and I never considered Lois until like right now, but like this is not like the Lois has been like at the front lines. She hasn't seen the things that keep her up at night, that she's not like the Pulitzer prize winning Pulitzer award winning journalist that she is in the comics. Like, she's still hard hitting, but she's still like, I think like very young in that career, it seems like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm curious if we see any more Kryptonite anymore in the future. That's right.
I love how people said that was controversial, but I would think that the mom of a character like that would feel that way, and it's on brand with Pa Kent. I mean, I didn't think that was a departure from the parents that we saw in Man of Steel. I feel like she would say something like that, whether or not it was all inclusive to the world or not. She was more concerned about his protection than the rest of the world.
Absolutely. Like she's a mother first and then like a supporter second.
Yeah. So I never understood the controversy of that. I thought that was a great line. It was on brand with her character.
Bum bum bum.
Well, no shit.
Here's the big reveal, Seth.
Is this not in the original cut?
Correct.
No. Which, look, this scene feels so dumb to cut because this is literally the glue holding character motivations and story plots together. It's a singular scene that you cut out. And for what?
Well, this explains a little more that Lex was behind the framing. But here's my only argument against that is if you didn't want to raise suspicion, why would you give your army super unique bullets? Why wouldn't you just give them like the most bland ass ammunition that wouldn't, not like the most unique bullets on the planet that would come back to you? That, in retrospect, that makes no sense to me.
Also glad that we're getting to see different angles or like different opinions on Superman in this movie. I feel like every incarnation we've ever really gotten of the character, he's always been, quote, the hero. Like it just seems like dumbfounded to view him any differently. Outside of Lex, of course.
Yeah. Does he return them, or was this Lex?
Oh, this was all Lex.
See, he looks crazy in front of people, but when you see all this other stuff behind the scenes, he was a mastermind. I just wish that his personality reflected that a little bit more. But his stuff here, I felt, was great.
Yeah.
See, I like that line.
He has some really good ones.
Yeah.
That one, God is dead. If God is all powerful, he can't be all good. He's got some good lines in here.
Yeah.
For sure.
That one's a common parable as well.
Yeah.
The scene proves how easy it is to just get away with murder.
I know. Straight up, House of Cards, her ass.
Okay. You telling me nobody saw that shit?
I mean, there would probably be like one homeless guy that probably maybe saw it.
That dude's got an alien thing on his head. I just noticed that. No aliens. With his glasses.
I'm calling bullshit on that picket crowd right away. Like, dude, they would have split up and taken sides of the fences hours ago.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be commingling.
Do you guys understand or know the hidden connection to the Dark Knight in this sequence?
I mean, it's hidden.
What? Spill it.
So
Let's play this out real quick though. This is an important scene.
it is one of the senator that sits next to June in the sequence to her left.
Oh yeah, he's in like every Batman movie.
Yeah, he is held at knife point in The Dark Knight, where the Joker says, "I hated my father."
That's right. That's what you were talking about. I thought you were talking about the comic. Yeah. That's cool. I never noticed that before.
I didn't either. I just remembered it. I just caught it on my last viewing. It's a day of truth.
He just loves messing with people's heads. I love it. I do love it so much. He rocks her in this. Like, this was legit, like, boss mode right now.
Oh, so much about this scene is boss. Like the fact that he's not here.
Yeah, let's play it out. Hold up. Like,
all right.
What's at the chair?
oh come on, you know he's fine.
Oh, because she can't feel for the other people? Come on now. This is before January 6, 2021. So.
Right, no, that's fair. All right, now let her rip. That's suspense. Like, that is a great play for suspense.
Yeah.
They didn't dial up all the friggin' like. I mean, they knew that it was. We knew something was coming, but I mean, just the amount of ambiguity that he allowed for this scene and let it play out that way is great.
Yeah, and just the way in which it captures Luthor's master mindedness, the way that Josh was just talking about too, is really great. The way that, you have that callback to Granny's peach tea argument, but you also at the same time, you're taking him out of the equation, and you're also using the a vocal hater of Superman.
Mm-hmm. But why would you cut this scene? Like this?
I don't know. This is so dumb.
Without this, it just looks like he was disappointed and left. At least in this shows he stuck around.
Yeah.
He was disappointed in himself, but at least he stuck around and didn't run from it. He was there to help.
Yeah, you're also seeing the casualties firsthand too. Having just that dozen or so body bags there.
But yeah, Lex got him on that one. That was well done.
Also, the fact that that wheelchair was aligned with lead. Love that callback.
An hour, 33 minutes, and 22 seconds.
Yeah, the whole
HBO
line
Max
with
watchers.
lead thing. Did they say that in the film later? Am I just...
Yeah, they do. It
Okay.
is one of the deleted scenes. Lois finds out, though.
Because we haven't seen anything in these films where he talks about he can't see or, through lead or whatever. So even without that, it was just that, maybe he was in his own head so much, or he just let his guard down when he was at the Capitol and he missed it. And that almost rings more true because he was just, he's, he messed up.
So
He
Mr.
can make
Miller,
mistakes.
Mr. Miller, on my watch through, I am 16 seconds ahead because of an ad that they put at the beginning of HBO Max here. So we're watching at the same point, But the timestamp that I'm crossing right now is an hour, 34 minutes, and 22 seconds. It's
Yeah,
like we're just
Jeffrey,
in the
if you're
rainy
not
scene
watching,
with Eisenberg coming back in here.
Yeah.
if you're not watching on HBO Max, the rest of us are at 1 hour, 34 minutes, and 20 seconds. And this is the Ultimate Edition. So if you're not watching the Ultimate Edition, that could be a reason as well.
Yeah.
That was a badass. That was like Batman animated style with him popping down and bringing somebody back up. That was cool.
He had his detective mode on too, because his eyes were all lit up.
Yep. And he left his mark, like just telling him.
Do you think that he wanted the kryptonite solely for the purpose of setting up the Bat versus Superman fight, or
No,
did you think
there was some ulterior motives there for sure? But unfortunately, we got cheesy Lex Luthor, so we didn't get to see much more than what we got.
Well, and I think in the context of this movie, it was yeah, he probably did have ulterior motives. He probably had another plan for it, but in his brilliance, he was just like, I can roll with this. You know, I can make this work too. So, yeah.
It's
I would have been
it's the
interested
Baron
to see.
Zemo play in Civil War. It's like I can't destroy them. Stronger men than me have tried, but you
Right.
destroy them from within or something like that. It's obviously it's not the same because Batman and Superman aren't teamed up here. But yeah, when you got to get Superman's equivalent into the fight for that, which is also why he leads into like
finding the kryptonite?
Mm-hmm.
you know, and experimenting on Zod and eventually creating a, what do they call it? Why can't I remember right now?
Oh, the word for Doomsday. Yeah, I can't think
Doomsday. Yeah.
of. Oh, yeah. I thought they used another word for him as well, but yeah.
Meteor Doomsday.
Ugh, he's climbing in that muck
Yeah.
in a suit, no less. I guess
He
that's
doesn't
rich
care.
guy stuff. Yeah.
He's got dry cleaners on call.
Or you can just toss it.
I love that Man of Steel has so many ramifications on this universe.
That's damn good battery for 2 years.
Yeah.
But no one got in there in 2 years.
Not to the part where I think he is right
He
now.
had to have the fingerprint.
Yeah.
He had to have Kryptonian access there.
So what? Were they just going to leave that ship in the city for 2 years after they got as far as they could, or like?
How are they going to move it?
Well, yeah, they were
True.
they were studying it, so I think Lex was kind of the first one that figured out that you needed Kryptonian access in order to really do anything with it to its full capacity.
How do we feel
We got
about
our
Batman
Superman
doing
montage.
CrossFit?
We got our Batman montage. What's
How do
that?
we-
CrossFit?
How do we feel about Batman doing CrossFit instead of some like rich guy's workout?
I really wish that this would have been one of the scenes that cut in the theatrical version. I don't mind it, but I feel like there's a lot better scenes that you should have kept.
Oh
But,
hell no! You need workout Batman. This is
Eh,
his. This
I
is.
I could take it or leave it.
This was, this was what you got in the animated series. You got those, those CrossFit moments in the cave and everything. He needs that. This is his prep time. This is Batman's prep time, his greatest power. So he's preparing. But this, I was just like, really? So basically, LexCorp created the logos for the Justice League.
Yeah. Might as well have.
Stalker-ish much, buddy? Jeez. Come on, Lex. Better than this.
You have facial recognition nowadays, so he doesn't really need his stock. He can just like have
I guess.
sources, I guess.
There's that pick. Yeah. Okay, 1918 is where we were last night. We were wondering.
We were thinking like 16, 17, but yeah. It came out
No, it all takes place in World War One.
Well, yeah.
we didn't know the exact
17.
year.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fair.
Not a history major.
I love how they brought that theme in there. Photo from yesterday. Which is different watching it in this order, obviously.
Yeah.
But that was good setup because I wanted to know the story behind that photo. That was a cool photo. God, what the hell is swimming around there?
It's the remains of the Genesis chambers, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Also, again, how it would really go down in the real world.
Yeah, that's not far-fetched at all.
As soon as he fails, ready to tear him down. Whether the failure is legitimately his or not.
Mm-hmm. This is great. Oh my gosh, this is great. Him just taking time away.
Getting back to his roots from Man of Steel. This last hours. Cinema at its best. Which was what I'm also hearing about the Snyder Cut is that the Snyder Cut is like the last hour is like every fanboy's wet dream.
It's funny, on the first watch, I never knew that I didn't notice these outlines. I just thought that they were weird things hanging from the wall. I was so dumb. I didn't see the Superman outlines till like the second or third watch. I'm like, Oh, is there a bunch of little hanging Superman guys? I don't know why I never noticed that. Well, not never, just the first time I watched it. But this is extended cut too.
Yeah. They really, really screwed Lois in the theatrical cut.
Mm-hmm. See, if they just made the slightest bit more effort to show that.
There it is.
Oh,
The
there it
inside
is.
of the player was lime slide. Couldn't stop it because he couldn't see it.
Did they reference that in Man of Steel? I don't remember that being a thing.
We never got a reference that he can't
No.
see through lead. That's an assumed point, unfortunately.
So I think that's an assumed thing that they never really said in this universe, which is dropping the ball a little bit.
Yeah. But I mean, we also
I just found it out now. Yeah.
We also
Well, there you
don't
go.
know-
Somebody else never noticed it. Oh, this is great. This is so great. I love that they brought him back. Hmm.
Mm.
Hmm. It's just a commanding presence on screen. I love it so much.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
What I was saying earlier, though, if they made a little more effort to show something along the lines of Lex's unstable persona in front of people was an act, because he's definitely a mastermind behind the scenes, you know? Maybe if they would have shown something like that, like the whole he's unstable and stuttering all the time, that's an act, maybe that would have saved him a little bit in public eye, but they don't do that.
No,
He's clearly a mastermind behind the scenes.
Yeah, Lex is also a really interesting character just in general in that way, where, depending on the continuity, he's, smart enough to be this respected businessman, but is also, a cunning Superman villain at the same time, and he's also been like the president, and then you have like, versions where he's just kind of like Rosenbaum's like another great incarnation of that character, where like it really built him up to be something more than just a cunning mastermind, but he was still smart nonetheless. It's always been a character trait of Lex's, but I do think you are on the right path, but I still love the fact of what we got.
I like that a lot, that he kept the family manor, but he doesn't live in there. He let it rot. And the whole "I'm older now than my father ever was." That's a cool line too. I can't stand her in real life, let alone on a movie.
I know, she's fucking unbearable.
But
even
she
in a
lets them
fictional
do
sense.
this. Anytime they want to show a crazy person on TV, she's like, yep, I'll do it. Like she knows. She's the female Tucker Carlson, pretty much.
This last hour is the only reason I want to see the IMAX remastered version.
Yeah. That and the nightmare sequence are probably the best moments of that. Dude is ready. Nancy Grace, yep. Derpy, you still with us? We haven't heard from you in a minute. That score. I love the score.
This is
good.
bad guy music. True and true.
Oh, something else I'm excited for is to hear the full Snyder Cut score as well.
With Junkie XL, yeah.
It's 54 tracks or something crazy like that.
Oh, I didn't hear the extent of that. That's cool.
Yeah, he made a Facebook post saying it was also the score was also 4 hours, which
of course.
I really hope that's not the case. I really hope they bring that one to vinyl.
I love that. That's great.
I love that line.
Yep, that's a like the eccentric, like psycho. He does play well, but they bounce in and out of it too often.
Especially in this monologue right here. But like once he finds his like beat, he stays there. And I think they do a good job with keeping him there for the remainder of the film. And hopefully of what we see moving forward in all of his character depictions. His character is one I'm really curious to see about what they do with him in Snyder Cut. The way the scene is lit. Stunning. It's crazy.
I would have
how
respected that line a lot if it had not already been done. Like if they hadn't pulled it from somewhere else.
But it's not like it doesn't work with the
It does.
genius
Like
allegories
it's
it's all
great,
around it.
Yeah, no, it's a great conclusion for him to play for his character, but
Mm.
Fight night. I really love how the marketing of this movie really played up this monologue right here. Like all of the merchandise that came out of it was Son of Gotham versus Bat of Gotham, or the Dark Knight versus Man of Steel.
Mm.
yeah, there's the moment right there.
This is when he gets all 7. He's like, I got these creepy ass pictures of your mom. Yeah, that's dark. Why'd you gotta do Diane Lane like that?
It's genius. Diabolical, but genius.
Yeah, again, like that's the one weakness that Lex knows that he has aside from kryptonite.
And Lois, yeah.
And honestly, even a even stronger weakness.
Mm-hmm. He knows how to manipulate people. That's his greatest strength is manipulation.
We use this phrase a lot lately, but like they had all the elements in there to make Lex Luthor really good. They just didn't stick the landing.
Yeah.
Now you have less.
Yeah, I think a lot of people felt that way. I think you could have not changed his character at all and just put a different actor in there, or at least a different tone, and said the same lines, and it would have been great. But because of the quirkiness, it just people.
I think Eisenberg still could have done it. They just needed to like have some directorial changes. Be like, you know what? Yeah, that was a little cheesy. Can you bring it? Can you pull it back a little bit there, bro? Like, yeah, no problem. All right, cool. Run it again.
Yeah. They would have reined in his quirkiness. What's that zombie movie he's in?
Zombieland.
Yeah.
Zombieland. God, it's the easiest title I could think of. Yeah, right. If they would have been like less Zombieland and more Lex Luthor, then he could have pulled it off. And they wouldn't have even had to change the script. The script is good, but yeah, his delivery is what kills it. For a lot of people. I know Josh is a big fan.
Big fan.
He was just too meek for me in Zombieland. Like he played that.
That was the point, right?
Yeah, I just didn't like him. I didn't like his character. He did fine acting the job. I just didn't like the social awkwardness that he had and all that stuff. Didn't identify with it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's because it hit too close to home. Like,
Again, this is an extended scene too, and
Yeah.
it at least shows that he's conflicted with it, you know. In the theatrical cut, it just looks like he went there to kill him, not that he was just like, I gotta try to convince him, you know.
That's what audiences came to see, though. They like, and the concept of Batman versus Superman has been tossed around in and out of like movies since the early 2000s. Like, if you look at New York City's landscape in I Am Legend, you can see the original poster images
When he's chasing that deer,
Forgot
you
about
can see it up in the thing,
they had the two symbols there.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, that wasn't a versus symbol; that was a combo symbol. But yeah,
But
just like Civil War, you know, in the MCU, yeah, we want to see that matchup, but written in a good reason, and this fleshes out the reason why they're fighting. But you want to see that, you know, Superman wasn't just going there like, I'm gonna do Lex's bidding. He was conflicted with it, and he wanted to at least see if he could help him. They took that out.
This was another thing that this particular I really don't feel like we got enough Diana in here to justify her being in this movie, even in the extended cut. Like, I'm still not getting that feeling.
Oh God, I can't disagree more. But I will give you that. Even with the title, Dawn of Justice, it was rushed. Trying to plug the next thing.
yeah,
I feel like this stuff wasn't needed, but I thought Wonder Woman's presence was validated.
yeah, I think so too. Like it gives they do enough that like teases like the dynamics of like Diana and Bruce's relationship in forming the League. That I think like isn't overkill. It gives you just enough, and I think that you have just enough in here for her to warrant. Now, some of this stuff probably could have been like extended cut only, because like I don't think that you need to world build and show Cyborg, Aquaman, and the Flash. Like
this was definitely their world building.
Yeah.
This is the equivalent of Thor going off to that jacuzzi and having the rings meeting in Age of Ultron.
So look at it the way that I'm looking at it. They're spending this time doing this world building here from Diana's perspective instead of maybe even Bruce's perspective earlier when he was looking through these files. Instead of having her moment here be more of a justification for her being in this film, instead of just watching all these other metahumans here. I
agree. I believe that this is all unnecessary world building for this film, but the rest of her moments in this film, I thought it was an interesting introduction.
I'll let you have that one. I'm just not. I wasn't 100% on board. I feel like I wanted a little bit more Wonder Woman in here, like her a little bit more involved, closer to the actual story instead of this like non-involved third party that she ends up becoming until here at the end.
Last second Trinity,
because she was there with she was at Lex Luthor's thing because she was trying to find that photograph.
Yeah.
Like, not because she was like she believed that he was some sort of villain or anything like that.
No. Yeah. Well, she didn't like him, but yeah, it wasn't like she was on the case or anything.
I want to discuss a team up. Why?
God, I love that video.
I mean, I have no special powers.
So good.
You could have defeated Bane with one arm, and with the other hand, you could have just jerked it.
He just pushes him. Like, you're not listening, Bruce. God damn it, I'm trying to talk to you. Bruce is just like drunk with like purpose right now. He's just he rage and
misdirected anger, all that.
He doesn't want to hear any of it.
No, a lot of complaints. People complained about this movie, like this particular sequence being anticlimactic because of how short it was. Like, do you guys think that like this
Well, it's
movie
extended here.
suffers?
It's extended in the Ultimate Edition. I mean, just the scene you were just talking over wasn't in the theatrical cut
Yeah,
with him. So, I mean, sure, but it's no shorter than the real fight scenes between the Avengers and Civil War.
no. And I think people just look for a reason to hate DC movies because they're not freaking Marvel comedies.
He's got, I love how he's got some prep time with this. This is great.
20 years over, someone that's been doing this 2 years.
Yeah, but he prepped specifically for this dude. I mean,
well, it plays to like something that Batman is known for in other Justice League stories is that he has a contingency plan on how to deal with every member of the Justice League, and that
felt like that was his role.
Yeah, that ingenious level of intellect that he has towards something like that, to have a contingency, also playing on the we can't stay good forever. Or not everybody stays good. Like it fits the narrative for this grizzled version of Bruce Wayne that's been doing it for so long.
Well, in most cases, he was the one human, or the one normal human. Around a bunch of superpowered beings. He had to do that in order to feel like he was relevant or feel like there was a purpose for him to be there.
I mean, he's also taken on. Let's not forget that in the comics, he's also gone toe to toe with Darkseid.
That's a great punch.
And again, not a lot of heavy cut, shaky cam action filmed here. Like they're letting that brutality play out.
Yeah.
The filming reflects the impact. Yeah. You feel the fights instead of like you're struggling to watch it. Yeah.
I don't get motion sick watching these action sequences.
Right.
It's because Zack Snyder is a boss at filming, setting up.
This is great. When he just that's great. He's like, oh shit. You healed a lot faster.
I love this score so much.
It's not quite the kryptonite armor that we've seen him use, though. I like that they didn't go balls out with that part.
Yeah.
That he's like just now learning how to fight up against Superman instead of lining his armor with all that kryptonite.
Sure. Well, he had some prep time, but he didn't have
that much
prep time. I'm glad they didn't take it that far.
He had Bruce Wayne prep time, not Jeff Bezos prep time. Maybe Batman's still only like number 2 or 3 in this universe.
Oh, I love that he grabs a sink. Old school. Yeah, we're watching the fight scene right now. He's about to throw Superman over the balcony.
Yeah, HBO Max time code 2 hours, 9 minutes, and 36 seconds.
Oh, God, that looked painful, even for him.
Yeah.
He just, like, landed on a mountain of radiators or something. That just looked painful.
I mean, action scenes in just about
it
every
is
movie give me
radiators.
back pain.
Yeah, but landing on, all those radiators, that looks painful. They did a really good job with showing how unhinged Batman is in this. I mean,
Violent.
he looks, messed up in this. He does not look right. You could be rooting for him all day, but he's clearly unhinged.
For no reason at all.
That's a great line.
Great. Literally pulled right from Dark Knight Returns.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. That's how the flat earthers think. It's not a great way to go about it there, Bruce.
He's unhinged. Give him a
He's
moment.
unhinged for sure.
He's not thinking straight.
Come on, I had to change the approach for the jokes that I cracked, because if I cracked them digging at the movie, you were fighting back a little too hard.
I might have been.
And I'm outnumbered here.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you're outnumbered by Josh's and by Batman fans.
You were never even a man.
Surgical with that shit.
I still don't like this.
I'll defend it.
The older I get, the more I can sense the emotion and the rawness in this. Like,
I mean, I get it, but it just seemed like the first time I saw it, it just seemed a little lazy. It hits different now,
yeah.
but I'm still not sure I'm on board with it.
I mean, to their defense, they didn't come. They were Martha's written in the comics, and
Yeah,
never. I'm not.
Yeah.
I know. I'm not going to have an argument or anything. I've heard it all before. I understand the fight back against it. I mean,
yeah.
They needed something to break him. Could have been done better, but yeah. They needed something to humanize him in Batman's eyes and to break Batman from his obsession.
kind of hinge him back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What better?
Because it's just great that I don't know. I guess the only thing that it would have changed is that instead of saying Martha, he says, "You're going to let him kill my mother," and then that kind of like counteracts as a contrast to his lines, like "You were never even a man." And I was like, well, he has a mother. He has a soft spot, just like every man would out there.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's essentially
these...
what Lois's line was, but I get what you're saying.
Would it have had the strength and impact to kind of be like, oh crap, that's a key word for Bruce because he has a connection there too? I don't know. But
and Clark not knowing the Martha thing, but I mean, yeah. I just remember when that happened, I had realized that both their mom's name was Martha. And I just never remembered the comics really making that a thing. I just never remembered that being pointed out before.
It snaps him out of this a little too hard, you know? Like he's done a complete 180 on how he feels about Superman already, and
oh yeah, this whole thing was quick.
too jarring. We needed maybe this is where the extension. There's been some great scenes that I don't remember that do add better context than what I remember seeing originally.
Yeah.
That was extended right there. But I agree. Even in this extended, his Batman just is like, all right, I'll save your mom, like immediately. But it's because they added this last minute villain here at the end. They didn't have time to flesh that out. But I agree, it's a rushed part of it for sure.
I still like I don't deserve you, Alfred. No, you don't.
You really don't.
I really liked the extension that they added with the with Superman like helping after the Capitol building blew up. I'm surprised that got cut.
Yeah, that humanized him more for sure.
Well, they weren't trying to make him like they were there. Like Batman has arguably grown to be DC's biggest and most iconic superhero in their line. So they're trying to really gear everything around Batman.
Sure. But he's clearly not in the right in this movie. You know, he's clearly
not. But they market him as he was, so that you're trying to align with him and not Superman. That's why they edited the movie they did. In the way that they did. I would make the argument at least.
Well, the marketing is one thing, but when you take out the humanity of Superman in the actual film, especially when people, were still writing on MOS for his, his destruction, I just felt like that was a bad call. A lot of these scenes they added back in added humanity to him. And if we're never going to get a Man of Steel 2, his character deserved that as the other title character of this movie.
Yeah, for sure.
This is awesome.
That was something we were talking about yesterday, is that we were kind of hoping that the Snyder Cut brings some closure to some characters if the third iteration of the Wonder Woman films doesn't.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
if it's going to be the closure for the Snyderverse, it would be great to see Henry Cavill get some justice as far as finalizing his character in this version.
I agree. It'll probably have a cliffhanger.
Oh,
but peak gadget Batman right now, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I love how they thought they didn't realize he was above him. Like, that was just great.
So brutal.
Even criminals are dumb.
So good, though.
A lot of this is extended, too, where at least the blood splatter.
Well, this is what earns helps the Ultimate Edition earn its R rating.
That was my favorite. That was my favorite move in the Arkham games. Is that grappling hook pull into a finisher move?
Oh yeah, for sure. Body slam. Mess that dude up. The fighting style in this is great. I really do like it.
It keeps that one swift motion that Seth was talking about during the nightmare sequence too.
Mm-hmm.
That hit, man.
I love that hit.
That's so good.
But I do like how
it's like, because we've got a lot more shaky cam going on this time around, and there are some more cuts, but they are keeping like it's not so dramatically cut to where it's constant.
It's
there's still some fluid motion in there, but
it's choreographed and shot. It's you can
still see what's going on.
God, I love that knife moment. Takes the knife out of him and puts it in the other dude. It's great.
That's a Batman thing to do, though.
He's like, "Oh yeah, I haven't forgot about you."
Yeah, the sound.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good bone body crunch sound.
Not to mention, it did look like half the henchmen were like waiting around. It really looked like they were all attacking him at once. I hate it when movies do that, where they're all like play punching like 5 feet away. It actually looked like they were all trying to fight him at once.
And then there was that great moment where that guy was like, he had the gun. He came up and he had it like right on his head, and he was like, I was like, I'm not wasting any of this time. Like, I'm gonna take him out.
He wasn't waiting for
way.
his turn.
It still didn't work.
Yeah. I believe you. That's Dark Knight Returns vibe right there. So much Dark Knight Returns in this movie. Are you? You just tried to kill him like 20 minutes ago.
Like, still not helping.
If Doomsday wasn't in this film, they could have taken a little more time with that. But they've got a whole nother guy to fight. Crazy.
Yeah. I love and I hate that at the same time, because it, like, on one hand you get to see like Lex has a contingency plan, like, you know, should something go wrong with the Superman versus Batman plan, and you're also setting up the Justice League. Like, you know, people said that it was a ballsy move for him to do the death of Superman in the second movie in this universe. I will give him that. It is a bold move, but I also like the fact that you're having Batman set up the Justice League in honor of Superman's memory.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that. You lost. I don't know how to lose. You'll learn.
Like that he hasn't healed from that kryptonite cut yet.
Nah, that line still doesn't work for me.
Oh, I always like that line.
And they got all kinds of big news names.
I know, right?
I'm like, jeez.
Try to make it as realistic as possible.
Even Superman's like, what the hell did you do? Jeffrey, is this the first time you're watching this? Holy shit. I almost feel like I'm ruining it for you if you're watching it for the first time with us.
Is as good as dead.
It's got to be some bad breath.
Doomsday also has not fared very well in live action terms, because they also made him the primary antagonist in Krypton's as well.
Yeah. Krypton. He was in Smallville.
Yeah.
Jeffrey skipped this movie. Well, if it makes you feel any better, Jeffrey, I haven't seen it in like 2 years. I think 2-ish. I think, I don't know. It was a holiday season a while back. It's been a while for me. I am appreciating it more. I'll give you guys that. That I'm appreciating it more, watching it from a much more analytical like eye.
They definitely, you know what?
This third act is slipping for me, like, which seems to be a pattern.
I always agreed that this third act was not necessary and was rushed, but at the same time, I never believed. Yeah, it definitely is a fourth act. At the same time, I never believed I would see Superman versus Doomsday and the death of Superman on the big screen. And the fact that they at least attempted it. Yeah, sorry, Jeffrey. The fact that they at least attempted it means that I got to see a version of it. And if this one wasn't received well, maybe in the future they'll do it better. But man, that was the one storyline that I loved growing up, was the death of Superman. I mean, this was legit. So to see them at least attempt it on screen, it resonated with me. But I'll agree it wasn't done that well. But I still really like seeing it.
I am kind of on the fence with this act. I'm not quite to your guys' disdain of hating this, but at the same time,
I'm not
don't hate it.
disdaining it.
not my favorite
no
part
way
of the
do I hate
movie.
it,
But I agree. I think that I wish that we would have seen. It doesn't feel necessary for them to have it. Like,
I love that he throws the X at it. They do make a point, though. If you compare this to the end of Man of Steel, if you listen to the news people, they're like, oh, yeah, everybody went home. You know, this area is empty of town or something like that, or the docks are closed. So they do try to, like, course correct with the damage.
how to best to describe it? I mean, in a world of aliens, is a monster destroying a town really that hard to describe, though?
And they've had one alien encounter. But, yeah, I get what you're saying. See, I do like he's, like, immediately trying to take this out of the city to space.
We don't know that.
I feel like this is still like too early in the career of Superman for like people to like actually know what his weakness is. And like,
yeah, that's fair, but remember, we're dealing with a military force here who have seen him in action and the Kryptonians in action.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got an inkling to him being powerful to some degree.
Well, yeah.
And they saw what Zod could do, and they saw what a Superman versus Zod fight could do to a city. So I wouldn't put it past them to be like, we got a chance. Let's try to end it right now before it gets worse down on the ground.
It's just like we've seen it so many times now where like a super powered threat of some kind comes in. The government's like, all right, let's nuke them.
Mm-hmm. And Superman's like, let me hold him. Let me hold him for you.
I think my thing is that like they don't honestly know if it'll kill them.
Right. Well, I think he was just defending him. I think he wasn't. But yeah, that was cool. The brightness from space.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is pretty damn awesome. But it only makes him stronger.
It's like Doomsday can't fly, right? He's just jumping like crazy. Just chuck him into that zero gravity environment, leave him out there.
Yeah.
What's he gonna do?
That might have been the original plan before the bomb came in. I did love this. They show this more in the Ultimate Cut of him transforming, which is a signature thing of his character in the comics, was that the more he got hurt, the more he got bigger.
He does eventually reach a little bit of his like character design from the comics, but he never reaches like the full like iconic gray and bones that we know him as.
Right. But at least they tried for some aesthetic. That's so damn cool. God, he looks decrepit. Better fly fast, buddy.
Or go get the kryptonite and come back.
No, they really tried to make it a point of like desolate areas, empty cities.
Yeah,
Because-
that's why.
Yeah.
Because Metropolis is packed and the Gotham harbor is empty. Yeah, they make a point to say it. Doesn't mean it's not lazy, but yeah. Does he not look like the dude from Modern Family, like before he comes back, like with those cheekbones and everything? He looks like that actor, but now he looks good. I can't think of his name. What's the actor from Modern Family?
I don't know, but I'm gonna jump in y'all's comment section and
I know
just
who
say,
you're talking about, but
Ty Burrell.
yeah, the guy from the Muppets movie, or the Muppets Most Wanted, one of the two.
here's another Ex Machina moment.
Yeah, we're not there just yet,
Kaboom!
Derpy. Here we go.
Look,
Now
I cheer.
she's here.
All right. Every freaking time I see
Yeah, there's that theme.
It's a
There's
great
that theme.
It's a great theme. It's a good
It's a
moment.
great theme.
goosebumps every time I see that intro.
She's got a sword. She's got a sword again. That's a badass shot, too. Yeah, she's like, maybe I shouldn't have tried to toss that spear down the well.
Right.
There it goes again.
Yeah, Phil. That's his character name. You're right. Phil Dunphy. Yeah.
Well done.
He looked like him with the cheekbones and sucking in and everything. Derpy's a little ahead of us here.
Yeah. I thought she was with you.
Which, I know it sounds dumb, but she has superpowers, so he thought she was with him, because he's got superpowers.
No, it makes sense. Like,
but it was, it was for comical sense, but yeah.
I mean, it worked.
Exactly, yeah.
It's a good
I just
line.
love how he's like diving. He's like, oh, get the one place to survive.
It's just again like the only thing that it's hard to look at this act of the movie, at this finale of the film, and not think about how we got here with that sudden hard 180 that Bruce makes and his demeanor towards Superman and all this.
Yeah, it could have been.
If I think about it without that
that's
involved at all, maybe if their fight had gone a little different and Superman had had the chance to like convince him, it's like I just want to save my mom. I don't want to fight you or anything. But he never got a chance to say that.
Right.
Like,
or maybe they were
that
forced
small
to
of a
stop fighting.
change.
If
Maybe
they were
that small of
forced,
a change.
if they were forced to stop fighting themselves and fight a common enemy and then deal with their shit later, maybe that would have been better than just I'm friends with your son. Like, I agree.
This guy, like if they had risen Doomsday before they had, like, if that awakening had already been initialized by the time their fighting started, and they realized that it's like, hey, this isn't working out.
They wanted this Trinity moment before Superman dies. and unfortunately, it just came off as rushed. But again, I know it's me justifying it, but it's like something I've always wanted to see, and if it means that maybe it'll be better down the line, then I'm all for it. It could have been worse. I've seen it worse in other medias, so maybe that's why I'm so forgiving.
Oh
God,
yeah,
that's a good shot. I've seen so many artist renditions of that shot. It's gorgeous. It's messing that dude up. Gotta save your girl.
I wanted him to just give her one like really good slap on the back and just water just goes.
That's not Superman's character though.
It's
But it would've
totally
been
Superman's character. But be like, she can handle it. Boom.
I loved how people saw this shot and thought it was Superman, with all the marketing. That was well done.
Yeah.
The deceit. They shouldn't have dropped Doomsday in the trailers, though.
Agreed.
Man, he's coming after him. God, he's big. That's a big old hand. I love how he saves her from drowning, and then she immediately has to save him. Javelin team.
She wouldn't have made it.
Not with that throw.
Not with that throw. That wouldn't have been enough.
She's
like, all right, we got a fun one.
she's getting some feelings from this fight. Grow that shit back.
Well, it makes you wonder if she's had a good fight since '84.
Right?
Can you call 84 a good fight though?
Well, for her, between then and now, I mean,
Yeah. She's back on the offensive.
I don't know, because apparently she was supposed to be like, from like Wonder Woman to the event at BVS, like she was supposed to be in isolation.
Mm-hmm.
And they just retconned that. They were just like,
she certainly had to pull out quite a few stops to win that fight. I mean, some pretty lame ones and not earned ones, but still.
I do like this working together scene, though. She's got him restrained. He's got the smoke, the kryptonite bomb.
Yeah.
Superman for the win.
He even looks weakened by it. I think Cavell did a really good job at this heroic scene right here.
This theme, this music doing this, it's gorgeous. Got him.
Kablamo.
It was definitely ballsy to kill him off in the second film he was in.
Yeah. Josh, let me ask you a question. And likewise, Seth, this extends to you. Do you guys think that the animated movies have done the death of Superman justice?
No.
I haven't seen the Death of Superman animated one yet.
The
need to
more
watch that
recent one, the Redux, the two-parter, better. But that first one they did was shit. But I can't talk right now because I love this theme. I think it's heart-wrenching theme.
I mean, just her reaction right here. Just
Yeah.
I write to this track all the time. I love this track so much. That was intense, Jeffrey. You're correct.
like the first thought that comes to my head is the shot from the Snyder Cut trailer they're putting out where you have him lying there screaming and that those shockwaves are going through the world.
And they took the audio because I heard that scream in the scene, so they took it from this.
I wish that had been in here though. That would have been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so much of that Snyder Cut is taken from other sequences in the DCEU.
Sure.
Diana knows what that weight feels like.
We know that now.
Kind of twice.
Yeah.
I mean,
I love
kind
that.
of.
I love this. When you first saw that in the trailer, you were like, "Oh, that's actually kind of creepy," but it's so somber now that it's, he's not trying to be intimidating. He's just like
that shot too.
He's sad. It's a good shot.
Remember when they released this scene right here?
Oh yeah,
the Monday.
Everybody was like, "Holy shit!
Yeah.
Why cut this from the film?"
This was their version of a post-credit scene.
Yeah, it was. It was their post-credit scene.
This version of Steppenwolf actually looks intimidating too.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like that Kryptonian animation version of him, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's gross. That's so gross. He's in like the embryonic fluid and everything. Cutting that hair, bitch. They're like, let me give you a head massage and a cool.
Let's do a dramatic reveal for the jail.
Yeah, I mean, he was smart to cut those locks. That's for certain. You're missing a comma in there.
There's a lot of litter bugs in this city. Jesus fucking Christ. Did you see all that? So
yeah, there's a lot.
Holy shit. This damn theme, though, man. Fuck.
It's an iconic theme. It's not the Reeves theme, but it's so damn good. I love that they have the dual funerals here. It's so good. The casserole looked good, not gonna lie. Oh, it's got the IHOP dude back.
Mm-hmm. and the
And the preacher.
father.
And the preacher, but
Or
he doesn't
priest.
look like he's blind in this one. He kind of looked like he was blind in MOS.
He didn't.
Maybe I was
know.
just reading into that because he's blind in the comics, but
I don't feel like they hinted at it enough in Man of Steel either.
No, same.
So I don't think he is in this one.
you are correct, Jeffrey. It is the theme of Man of Steel.
I feel like the way that they use like the themes to like bring them back into the movies of the universe feels a lot more appropriate than the way that Marvel does it, where they just have that generic theme at every single like action-packed moment.
Sure.
Well,
But at the same time, this is why I was upset about the themes choices for Wonder Woman 84. They used the sad music for this movie, for the sad music in that movie,
Yeah.
where it doesn't correlate. And then they use the music from Sunshine, and it's just like, why the hell are you going to get Hans Zimmer to score your movie if he's just going to reuse his old stuff and then other composers' stuff? It made no sense. It felt super lazy.
Yeah.
I feel like the DC universe did a better job of having more iconic themes, because the Marvel series has some great ones. But
you're right.
They have so many of them, like there's so many of them there that they do have to use that. They do have to use the main Avengers theme for most of what they do, because there's just so many characters packed in when they're using them all. Here on this smaller scale, where we only had a few, like you got the iconic Man of Steel theme, you got that great Wonder Woman theme when she jumps in to save the day. It would have been. I personally wouldn't have been too terribly upset if they had used at least a modified version of the Dark Knight trilogy series for Batman's stuff in here, and that would have been another Hans Zimmer property. So it would have been an easy thing to carry over. Which it's okay that they didn't do that, but no, the fact that they have the iconic themes for Superman and Wonder Woman here, and they did such a good job with them. It's great that they used them, that Zack Snyder used them properly here.
Yeah, well, and they introduced the Wonder Woman theme here. That was the debut.
That was a great reveal right there too. Just the Superman emblem on the grave.
Yeah, that was classy. Bagpipes. St. Patrick's Day, you're right. Yeah. Good job, Jeffrey.
They didn't fuck around with no rifles for him either. They gave him a big-ass cannon.
Now, I wonder if that shot is still in Zack Snyder's cut, because I did like that shot in Justice League. It was mirrored, that shot with a big ol' bullet canister.
This is the one at the beginning, right?
No, the one at the end where it comes out the Batmobile and it falls in slow motion. I thought that was cool. You know what's the term? That's not bullet canister. Seth, I know, the ammunitions guy.
I'm sorry. Say again. I was bouncing between a few different things here.
What's the bullet in? It's not a bullet canister. It's why can't I think of this stupid bullet casing? That casing shot from that. There's a similar shot with that big old casing falling from the Batmobile in Justice League. That was very visually similar.
It's once they get into the that little Steppenwolf's bubble though, right?
Yeah. It's the beginning of that. You're right.
I think that actually might have been. I want to say that might have been Whedon's version, but it could have been Zack's. I don't know, because that third act is really hard to kind of differentiate into. Not for all of it, but for some of the
find out tomorrow.
Climactic. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you tried to kill him. You could say that. You could say that.
even if he hadn't become last minute friends, I feel like he could have still have this guilt afterwards. If they didn't
for sure.
they didn't have to hammer home the Super Friends vibe before he died for him to feel guilt now.
That line is what frustrates me so much about the
It
DC
doesn't fit with Wonder
MCU.
Woman 84, yeah.
No, they retconned it, and it annoys the ever loving piss out of me.
Well, Joshua knows that you don't have to convince him that Wonder Woman needed a live action film in the modern day.
Yeah.
More than one in the. I don't know. The '80s were hot back then. We got the Stranger Things series right around that same time. We got another series. There was another. I think there was a couple horror films that were based in the '80s too.
Yeah.
A lot of 80s. When they filmed Wonder Woman 84. Yeah, by the time it came out, it's kind of been on the back end of all that. But yeah,
I think they used the same mall set.
Stranger
Things did.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, we're just gonna save some money. We'll make the movie in the '80s. Fuck it. Why do you think the other ones would have had to fight? Because I wasn't the only one looking for them. Better line. Boom. Right there.
It's a very nice prison.
Yeah. I'm all about this scene.
It's a pretty badass scene.
Yeah.
Beefy Batman, that's for certain.
Yes.
I mean, in comparison, Battinson is a twig, but Battinson looks good.
True. They really went for that Dark Knight Returns influences where we keep coming back to.
Mm-hmm.
See, why didn't we get more of this version? The unhinged psychopath.
And maybe we would have, maybe similar to the Jared Leto's Joker argument that some believed a second bout would have fleshed him out a little bit more. But yeah, it's half and half for me in this movie.
That last scene feels out of order now.
You guys want to tell him, or should I?
Oh, who is coming? It's the big bad in Justice League.
I thought you were
Snyder
doing
Cut.
that in response to me. I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
No, Jeffrey.
I was like-
Jeffrey. Yeah, but they wanted this. They wanted this moment. I did love this moment. When I first saw it, I was like, "Hell yeah!" It's just tiny moment, but
Yeah.
It's a great moment. It just feels like it's out of order to me. Maybe the last scene was.
well, the last
Yeah.
scene.
That's great. Just that. It's like
I do like that.
like
cut
one
to
of the
black.
one of the big things that I really liked about one of the only things that I really liked about the third X-Men movie. Right at the end, you've got fucking Ian McKellen there, Sir Ian McKellen there, and his commanding Magneto presence still being commanding, even though he's like hunkered over and he's like wallowing.
Oh yeah,
in
that was
self-pity.
his.
And then he has the chest piece,
chest
just
move piece.
barely move. It's like it's a
Yeah.
great little. It was a great thing. I like that
And
scene.
there-
It feels like they should have put Batman confronting Luthor before the funeral, and it would have been fine.
I think
Yeah.
it would have been better as a post-credit scene, honestly.
Or yeah, that too.
But-
Even then, that would have been good.
I think that they just were like, "Oh, we're not going to try and copy Marvel." It just seems like too much. But I
Well,
think
they
you're
were
right.
young.
Like,
They were young as well. But yeah, that has definitely been a Marvel thing.
trademark, yeah.
To the point where we're always like, if it's any type of big film now, we're always second guessing ourselves. Is there
Oh, dude,
who made this?
Even
Is there something at the end?
even Marvel's fucking with us on it now, though, because every single I watched the first 3 episodes of WandaVision all the way through, thinking, all right, where is it gonna be?
Yeah.
And then I didn't watch it and then I didn't wait when they friggin' had one, and I looked at as soon as I did
they
the
got
internet
to-
search immediately after, I was like, fuck, there was one there. Shit.
Yep. When they got to modern times, I did the same thing. I was like, the freaking please stand by screen, turn it off, and then damn it, I got to turn it back on.
It was just
Yeah.
that please stand by screen was just so infuriating.
It was.
It
was.
the entire series.
It was such a polite, infuriating screen. Yeah.
No, I have a better respect for this movie after watching it from this perspective and from looking at it in a little bit more of an analytical way, and I think maybe even more so after seeing the Snyder Cut. I don't know. We'll see. But there was definitely I don't know. It was a more cogent story being told than what I remember. But again, like I said, it had been a couple of years. Maybe I just didn't appreciate it back then. Maybe I come at it from a biased perspective. I don't know, but I do appreciate it more having seen it from not as bitter of a perspective as I did from like being upset with it kind of around the same time. It was right around the beginning of that third act. It was that fight. It really would have had to have been that fight, because that's the big thing that still sticks out to me. Because a lot of the criticisms that I threw out there, like the prison scene there at the end being out of order, like that's just editing stuff. Like that's just like like a slight change doesn't change the context, but just like creates a little bit more impact. Stuff like that, I let that shit fly. Like whatever, like not a big deal. But yeah, just that 180 that Batman seems to take towards Superman, just because of like him uttering the words Martha. I feel like if they had added maybe like 30 seconds to that fight scene and given Soups a little bit more of a chance to explain what the actual situation was, that would have been fixed for me. It wouldn't have been as an issue. There wasn't enough there. And I can understand it being a bigger problem before this Ultimate Edition, because even then it still felt the whole movie felt a little bit more rushed. And now seeing some scenes that I don't remember, like there's a bunch of cuts there. I'm like, shit, okay. Some of the stuff that you guys mentioned that was cut that I don't remember seeing, I'm like, wow, that really, like, especially that scene right after the Capitol fight, or right after the Capitol explosion, where he like shows up, tries to help somebody. There's this weird awkwardness around him that the paramedic seems to have. I was like, that's important. That was an important piece of it. And then there was the other one that Josh, you specifically perked up at was it was when it was right after Lex gives Superman the terms of his fight with Batman. And he goes to Lois and he like has like that short moment where he explains what's going on. And that really doesn't make sense that would have been cut. That like
A lot of it doesn't make sense, especially the fleshing out stuff. It really.
Will you all be doing a review for the Snyder Cut? Yes, me and Josh will be. Cap here will probably be doing one for Victims and Villains, I believe.
Yeah, we've been doing a series on our podcast, Road to Snyder Cut. We did Man of Steel and BVS last week. We're doing Suicide Squad and Wonder Woman this week, and next Tuesday we'll be doing Snyder Cut as well.
We're not going to do a 4-hour watch party, Jeffrey, although I'm tempted to do something because I took tomorrow off. So I don't know. I just don't think I can sit in this chair for 4 hours. I'm going to watch the whole damn thing. I'm not going to do like watch 30 minutes here, go to the gym, come back. I'm going to watch a 4-hour fucking movie straight. I just got to get myself prepared. And I'm not sure if this is the most comfortable way for me to watch it as opposed to my big screen downstairs. So who knows? I'll try to think of something to maybe film it or something, but we're not going to do like an evening thing of that. But going back to this, so here's the thing. I feel like WB threw Zack Snyder under the bus because they gave him a lot of leeway. But one, he didn't write this movie. He directed it. Two, I don't care how much faith you have. Somebody, well, maybe we'll watch it together, Jeffrey. Somebody in WB approved these drastic steps forward in the narrative for the DCEU. It's not like they were surprised by it. It's not like when they first saw the screening was the first time, but then they were so upset that everybody got mad about it. But somebody approved these things. And the writers that they hired for this movie, they had David S. Goyer, who has had more downs than ups in his life, but he's been associated with things like the Nolan franchise. He was reined in. Yeah, David S. Goyer wrote BVS. He co-wrote it.
Really?
Yes, he did. And I'll tell you who the other person is in a second. But he co-wrote this, and he co-wrote the Batman, the Nolan films, but he was reined in by Nolan, And then the other guy, and he wrote some of the Blade films, but we know that the Blade films kind of got wonky too. So the other guy that wrote this was Chris Tiero, who wrote Rise of Skywalker. And we all know how much of a shit show that was. So you combine those two, and Snyder, I'm sure he had elements of the writing, but Snyder is the visuals. He's going to bring the stuff to light. So I just don't feel like if they were upset with the direction this was going, I don't feel it was all on Snyder's shoulders. He brought the paper to life, but there were so many other people that approved the timeline, and the projection of things before this movie even happened. And then they threw him under the bus with Justice League. And if they really, it just, with all the things he did for the WB before this, if they really didn't like the direction this was going, they should have just let him finish Justice League and then moved on. But instead, we had all the drama, the shit show, and now they're reaping what they sowed, 4 years later. And I don't feel bad for them. I know they're not happy, but I don't feel bad for them because they could have avoided all of this.
They had an uphill battle from the start going with Batman, just starting with Batman versus Superman, because so this is the second appearance of the Man of Steel iteration. And so we still haven't gotten to learn as much about this character as we would like to before we see him being thrust into another universe. We have a brand new iteration of Batman, which is the first live action version of him in a while that has been at the level that he is at. We're talking 20-year Batman.
Right.
And having to so we're dealing with a Batman who has a super long ass story that most casual viewers who are coming into this aren't going aren't going to know. They aren't going to have
Right.
seen it. And then at the same time, having it be a more grizzled Batman who's a lot more violent, coming fresh off of the Dark Knight trilogy, where do not kill is like in his mantra. It's his most important aspect. And then you got this one who seems a lot more carefree about how he handled his fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And then to top it all off, you've got the first appearance of Wonder Woman being kind of thrown in there. And again, the theatrical version, the first piece that everybody got to see was not this extended cut where
Right.
honestly, I still feel like this could have been longer to establish things as properly as they probably should have been. And then immediately jumping our way into the Wonder Woman movie and then into Justice League. And it's becoming my new catchphrase. It's higher up it's movie studio higher up fuckery that
for sure.
really screwed this up. It was not, I don't blame Zack Snyder for this. Cap, you had a question at the very beginning. It was I don't feel that I was about to say Joss Whedon. I don't feel that Zack Snyder is as divisive of a director as he is portrayed as. Because a lot of the films that have caused the most division that he's been involved with have had that movie studio higher up level fuckery going on. And Justice League is just the most prominent example of that because it was so much more in the limelight than anything else. Batman versus Superman also so much more in the limelight with all the drama that was going on. And it's it's very clear just with this cut, because this cut was the one where Snyder had still cut some stuff. Like there was he didn't want to tell a crazy 4-hour story for this one. I'm sure he would have if he could. Maybe in the streaming world it would have made a little bit more sense, but that time wasn't here quite yet. It's that unavoidable comparison to the Marvel cinematic universe that keeps on coming up when they're trying to establish these big universe movies, these big team up movies and stuff like that. Unfortunately, in this one, like I said, I come to this movie with a better respect for it than I did before. And I like that. Like I like that I enjoyed this one more. I'm gonna have to watch it without all of our commentary to kind of get it in like the casual viewer mode again, to just kind of like I'll just add it to my background stuff when I'm doing photo and video editing. Yeah, it's a prime example that like 2 years later I had to watch this movie again, like under a microscope, because of the Snyder Cut coming around, to actually appreciate it properly. When if the studio execs would have just let people do their damn job, let them make their art and go from there. And I was like you guys are going to get return. You guys are going to get return on your investment either way. Why do you have to get in the fucking way? Like, it's serious.
Well, I love this movie to death.
So many people blame. Just real quick. So many people blame Snyder for this, and at the same time, so many people blamed Joss Whedon for the way that Justice League tanked. It's like, how much of it is actually their fault in this world of filmmaking where so much has been taken away as far as decision level allowances that these directors are able to make?
I feel like with the Joss cut, it was a Joss and Warner Brothers. The more they released more of what was going on behind the scenes, it seemed more drama with those two ganging, and not Joss ganging up against Snyder, but WB ganging up against him, and then allowing Joss to come in, rewrite a film, and reshoot what the cinematographer claimed was up to 90% of it. So I feel like it was a little more for that, but I agree. It feels like studio fuckery, and I don't want to compare it to the MCU, but imagine your first film is Iron Man, and Iron Man is so damn good. And then in the second film, imagine if that second film was Iron Man versus Captain America. It would have been like, what? We instead of getting a Captain America film, Oh, and then by the end of the second film of Iron Man versus Captain America, the Avengers come together to fight Thanos. Like, imagine if that was the second film. It makes no sense. You know, Disney, granted, they had the money, but Disney Marvel had the time and they had the foresight and they had Kevin Feige to say, we know where we're going, and we're gonna get there. And DC had the fucking Trinity, and in many eyes, the better characters and the stronger, and almost every other media, DC does better than Marvel. Comics, animated films, TV shows. I mean, back then. Now it's a little different with streaming, but you could have taken your time. You didn't need. You were coming off of the Nolan series, and everybody still back then, even with Iron Man being so good, they were like, "It's good, man, but it ain't no Nolan Batman series." You know, you could have taken your time and built up the DCEU, but they rushed it. And yeah, I'm not saying that Snyder wasn't influential at all in the writing, because he is a storyteller, and I believe he was, but he wasn't the one to make all of these calls. WB made calls, then they weren't happy with the
100%.
response, and then they threw him under the bus after he's done so many movies with them in the past.
Well,
and I think he gets a bad rap.
here's the thing too, is that Snyder never intended for this to be a universe. This was supposed to be a 5-film arc that just happened to contain all of these characters the way that, you know, we perceive the cinematic universes thanks to the Marvel.
Sure.
I think that too gets really lost, that people tend to forget that, and it gets unfairly complained, or not complained, but compared to the MCU, and they were setting out to do something differently. Like, even when you go back and when you watch Man of Steel, there are subtle hints and subtle nods that this is a larger universe. This is a larger sandbox that you're playing in, because you have Wayne Industries logo here or LexCorp here, and then you're right from the get-go, you're being thrown in to show that this is a universe that has been in existence for at least 20 years. And then Wonder Woman is like, no, it's been at least 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
So they had visions for this, but I think that they saw the money that Marvel was making and said, that's what we want to do. Because you have to also keep in mind that Man of Steel was not initially their kickoff point for the DC cinematic universe. It was originally supposed to be Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern. That was supposed to be the starting point to everything. And when that failed and blew up in their face, they went back to the drawing board with Zack and said, all right, let's do a Man of Steel, BVS, or Man of Steel, and then we'll, extend it to these. We'll build to the Justice League.
I don't know that it's necessarily an unfair comparison to make between the DC Cinematic Universe and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I definitely I acknowledge the stigma around making it.
Mm-hmm.
But this comparison has been happening since the days of the comic book era, before any comic book movies were made. I mean, it was always Marvel versus DC back in the prime comic book days. And even in Man of Steel, like as you mentioned, yes, we did see those. We did see those references towards other aspects of the DC cinematic universe, but I mean, it's just as easy to dismiss those as Easter eggs that they're throwing in there for fan service, because the casual viewer isn't going to recognize those right off the bat. They're not going to know that it's a part of a bigger universe. And I know that it's slightly unfair to mention the casual viewership crowd, because of the way that these movies are made. They are meant to appeal to people who grew up with these characters. But that it's an important distinction to make, because those are the viewers that these higher ups are thinking about when they're doing all of their fuckery. They're trying to create mass appeal in a genre that is not massively appealing.
Mm-hmm.
and so like in order to understand why it's happening, I have to look into those things. It still bites me to my bones. I hate that that's what they're trying to do, because like Man of Steel stood up on its own feet without the idea of it being built into a bigger universe.
Yeah.
Batman versus
Yeah,
Superman,
it was very independent.
Batman versus Superman could not stand on that because of the way that it was
Right.
going, but it was still the potential for an individual story to be told, because we're dealing with a character that we have seen a lot of different times, a lot of different iterations. But again, it was the 20-year length of time that was like, we were saying it while we were watching, was like, we were hoping that there was going to be some sort of media out there to explain Joker's graffiti on that costume, like some of like the backstory of like what happened over those 20 years to make him so grizzled. It's like that appeal and that urge to see more of that stuff is both a good thing. It's both a blessing and a curse. It's like, yes, we want the viewer to be left wanting more, but we also want it to be enough mystery to where it's like, you know what, I don't need the answers to those questions in order to enjoy this. And this movie struck a good balance between that. But it was that higher up fuckery towards the end where they're like, you know what, we need the team up moment to happen, because we can't have them hating each other. It's like, well, I haven't really had, and then Snyder was like, you know what, I haven't really had the time to like flesh out them not hating each other. It's like, we don't care, make it happen. And then you get that super rushed product, and before you know it, the fans are lit up. And just like in the film, where as soon as Superman had a failure that people could cling to as a reason to hate him, they came up with a reason to hate him. Just like when Justice League did not live up to every single expectation that people had. Same as what we were talking about again, about how dangerous expectations are. They found somebody, like as soon as they had somebody to blame, they were jumping down people's throats. And unfortunately, the fans didn't blame Zack Snyder, but the higher ups did. And,
well, many people blamed Zack Snyder, but his fans didn't. But yeah,
it was a strong enough fan base to where the Snyder Cut like hype stayed real enough to where we are now in a matter of hours going to have that available in our arsenal towards the DC cinematic universe, which ultimately, yes, is that a great payoff? Absolutely. But does it leave a bit of a sour taste in the mouth because of the way that it had to happen? Absolutely.
I think too, we talked about the during the commentary, we talked about the 2016 press set visits to Justice League, and you had moments that were described in detail, and even in the first trailer that we got at San Diego Comic-Con that did not actually make the cut. For one, you had a studio mandate that said, all right, you can do this, but the film has to clock in under 2 hours. And Joss Whedon has a, much like Snyder, has a very distinct style on how he writes characters, does humor, does women, does interactions with women. All of those fingerprints are all over Justice League.
All over it.
Yeah, and that's why I think fans really rallied to release the Snyder Cut, because we had heard all these reports, we had seen these images, and some people were like, oh, you know, it's fable, it's not real. Then you have other people that are saying it is, and it went this like back and forth. And also too, you know, from someone that does, you know, works in a nonprofit and does the podcast on, you know, mental health awareness, the reason that he stepped back was because his family had a suicide. And, you know, I think that the fact that they wouldn't wait or, you know, actually allow him to find some way to cope and finish the project or release some sort of compromise really, you know, allowed fans to really rally for that as well, because, you know, he didn't have time to properly grieve and was dealing with, you know, all of, you know, that, and was just handled unjustly. So you're not only wanting to see the original product that, you know, you were promised, but you also were, you know, getting him justice. That's why
Yeah.
I love that the very last shot of this movie that he's gone on record is just a black screen that says "For Amber." And this film that is dedicating, it all goes to her memory, and all the money that he would have made off of this is going towards suicide prevention.
Yeah, it's a big thing, and I think, and I'm happy that, I mean, there's so many wins there for him coming back, and also for the money that the Snyder Cut people raised for charities and mental health awareness and suicide prevention in the last couple of years. Like they raised money for those charities. It was part of that, and I'm glad that they made that a part of it. But the WB just being lazy in their shitty, like, let's get the guy that did the last Avengers films to do Justice League, to finish up. Like, that was lazy in itself. And then it's also telling that, I like Avengers. I really like Avengers. I think everybody has some problems with Age of Ultron. But could you imagine an Infinity War helmed by Joss Whedon? You just can't. I can't see the tone of that movie with that guy. I just can't. They're two different things. Joss Whedon is good in his bubble. And I know he's got some drama going on right now, and that's very concerning and very disheartening because he's connected to so many things.
Specifically around his handling of Justice League.
Well, and now it's in with we got people from Buffy coming out saying the stuff, and that pains me because, God, I love Buffy and I love Joss for so many years because of that, and it pains me to know that there was shit. But then when you see the same shot in Age of Ultron with Bruce falling on Black Widow's boobs, and then the same shot with Flash falling on Wonder Woman's boobs, to the point where Gal didn't even shoot that scene. She wanted somebody else to shoot it. There's stuff like that is just like, did we need that in this film? Was that really worthy of a reshoot? Was the Zack Snyder stuff that bad that you had to shoot a boob shot?
Honestly, it fit better in the Marvel world. It's a little bit more jovial than the world that had been established too. That was also why it was kind of irritating.
It didn't fit in Justice League, but and I do believe in the studio interference, and I believe that what the DCEU lacked the most was not having a Kevin Feige person to stand between the movies and the studio. Because let's face it, Iron Man. Marvel announced that their first movie was going to be Iron Man in 2005, after Batman Begins came out and redefined the modern superhero movie. Christopher Nolan dropped Batman Begins, and at that point, it was not clear that there was going to be a trilogy. But they redefined the modern superhero movie, and Marvel was like, all right, we're going to get in this game too. And in 2005, they announced their first movie is going to be Iron Man. And then Iron Man and The Dark Knight came out the same year. And I guarantee you, even back then, WB was probably trying to pull some shit in the Nolanverse. And Christopher Nolan, being the stubborn dude that he is, was probably like, hell no. If you want me to make these movies, it's going to be my movies. I ain't going to do your fuckery. And so the minute that he was off, and he stuck around as producer for Man of Steel, but the minute he kind of started saying, all right, I'm not going to be your Kevin Feige, then they brought in all this shit. And I agree with what you said, Seth. I thought there were smart elements to, just like the MCU didn't do an origin story for Spider-Man. We had already seen all these iterations of Batman. It was kind of cool that they started this new Batman from a totally different spot than we've ever seen him from. And they could have executed it better. But then they didn't. They dropped the ball, and then they went all batshit crazy with Doomsday. But again, we could have gotten past this. You could have let Justice League happen, and we could have moved on. Everybody admits that some of the earlier films in the MCU are wonky. We've moved past that. We're 12, 13 years past that. And now MCU's at God level, but we don't forget the Iron Man 2s or the Iron Man 3s or the the Hulk nonsense or Thor 2. There was plenty of not that great.
Thor 1 and 2, really. But
I like Thor 1 over Thor 2, but there's plenty
I
of
do
not
too,
that
but
great.
the amount of Dutch angles and
That's true.
and the
lot.
Russian nature, and that movie was actually like just hard to watch physically.
But we got past it.
Oh.
Hell, Thor's a great example of how they brought in somebody and totally rewrote Thor. You know, Thor Ragnarok was just like, we need. They didn't recast him. They didn't start over. They just took it in a whole nother direction. So you could have done that with the DCU. You could have been like, Snyder, we'll give you Justice League, but we got to transition. Instead, we're just in this mess now of, are they going to keep these cast members around? Are they going to kill them off and start over again? You know, what are we doing? It's just bloody and messy right now.
That's essentially
even worse. We're in limbo as well, because it's almost like we're having to wait to see what the future of the cinematic universe on the DC side is going to be after the Snyder Cut. And I will say that it's not solely because of the Snyder Cut. I think it's strictly because of the studio holdups and everything due to coronavirus, and the dent that has put in the timelines for a lot of future projects for all sorts of different things.
For Flash,
but at the same time, if it would be nice to have us enter a world where these executives pay more attention to what the fans want as opposed to what they just think is going to sell.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like I said, we're kind of in limbo until we sort of see the Snyder Cut and see, like, because obviously I would imagine that Snyder Cut might have adjusted some things to give him the closure that he might want from this franchise. Especially given its length, I would imagine that we're going to get at least some of that, unless it follows the exact plan that he had, where there was going to be another set of films that he was going to make following along in especially like the Nightmare timeline. But until we see the Snyder Cut, we don't know if that's the direction that he went, because we do know that there were a lot of reshoots that had to happen as well.
Not that many reshoots, but
not that many, but enough. And unfortunately, some of the key actors in the film were not around for those reshoots, so it'll be interesting to see the direction that he was forced to go because of that.
So what's it basically as like kind of come out in like light of like press moving forward is that the Justice League is going to be canonical. Basically, the Snyder Cut is going to exist as kind of like a alternative timeline, which true fans aren't going to count that. It'll be reversed, and they've also said that Flashpoint is going to reset everything, which will be interesting because you're still going to have post Flashpoint. You're still going to have Shazam. You're still going to have Aquaman, you're still going to have Wonder Woman, and you're still going to have the Flash. So you can't say that all of these things didn't exist prior to that. Like, they either that or they're existing in their own multiverse independent of one another.
I'm not sure you're right about that. First off, what's up, Jared? I agree. Nightmare timeline. God, if the same people that did the Watchmen HBO series could do a Nightmare series, hell fucking yeah, that would be amazing. But I'm not sure you're right about that, Josh. I think, first of all, they've announced that Flashpoint is not going to be Flashpoint, the storyline, but they're saying it's going to reset things. Yeah. I think, especially with how far out that film is, I could see that film being rewriting everything, because we've said this, Seth and I have said this now twice now in the past week, that as long as these actors are still here, the Snyderverse is going to be around. People are going to associate them with Snyder, not with Joss Whedon. So I could see them doing Wonder Woman 3 for closure. I could see them doing Aquaman. But I could see that Flash movie coming in, and at the end of it, it's done. And it does change things. And you got different actors, and you got a different direction, and all ties, because at the same time, you've got all that controversy around Ezra Miller right now. Nobody wants him. The Harry Potter for what is that? Forgotten Beast. Fantastic Beast. They don't even want him. He choked some chick in public at a bar in the UK, and people, I don't know the whole story on that, but there's a lot of drama. People don't like him anymore. And I could see the Flashpoint being a closing mark and that's it for this crew. We're starting over because of the, things that happen. So I'll be surprised if we have anybody connected to the Snyderverse past that film, because I think WB is just aching to reset.
I think at this point too, they're also just looking to focus on independent features, because
Clearly.
when you look at films like MOS, you have Aquaman, Shazam, like all of those like independent character stories are highlights in our current roster of DC movies.
Mm-hmm.
And then, when you're talking about like, yes, like it is awesome to see those moments of like the Trinity and BVS, and it's awesome that, we're all excited and all hyped for the Justice League Snyder Cut. But also I think that you have a lot of people that really want to see, and the way that they've described the Flash, it's going to basically be like they're going to sever the ties almost. But again, like you're saying, like you're right, like it's not going to be connected to this larger universe, because as long as you still have Momoa being Aquaman, as long as you still have Gale being Wonder Woman, as long as you still have Ezra being the Flash, you're always going to have those connections to Snyder's vision of what this universe is, regardless of the tone. These are the actors that he handpicked and that he chose, and that they are the ones that are making you billions of dollars now.
Right. And there's going to be that stain of disappointment around it.
Yeah.
We're getting the Snyder Cut of this, but we're not getting I don't care what you're reading, what tabloid's saying that they're reconsidering Justice League 2. It ain't fucking happening.
No.
WB wants nothing to do with this guy. So I mean, yeah. I can't imagine another Wonder Woman, but I can't imagine them continuing this on past Wonder Woman 3 and continuing this. I think they want to reset.
And it's a shame that it's a shame that was the course of events that have led up to this.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we're seeing another Batman iteration here coming.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
Another one.
Yeah, another one. Who knows the direction that things are going to be going at that point? It's kind of the same point that I made last night, but I would like them to steer away from the team up movies for a while. Let's kind of like chill out on them. Let's get some individual stories for these characters. Let's see I think even Ryan Reynolds, especially Ryan Reynolds, would say, let's get a proper Green Lantern movie out there. Like let's see some more of that character. I know that I probably opened a bit of a can of worms there. Hold on.
Yes, you did.
Just a little.
No, you didn't. You're fine.
But like let's see some individual stories. Let's just see them focus back on like telling like good storytelling rather than good marketing.
But the inevitable thing of that though is if you don't have a future mindset, then you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Sure,
because no one believes Pattinson. I think that movie looks amazing. No one believes he's going to that version of Batman is going to eventually be in Justice League. So if your plan is to do individual stories for now and then eventually do a Justice League, that means you're going to have to cast another Batman down the road. And you're going to have to do this all over again.
Not necessarily. So we got to talk about, I'm talking about a long game here. Okay. I'm talking about like a 10-year plan here. Because they've created this world. Like we want to grow with these individual characters before that team up movie. And I've been a big proponent of that. I've been saying is like the characters that are involved in these big team up movies these team up movies are successful because we've had a good amount of time to grow with the characters who are involved in it.
Sure.
Now that's an important component. Now, if they are planting the seed with a new Batman here, and then again, we're talking about a long timeline here. I would not be shocked. I mean, it would be a little out of character based off of the current information that we have, but I would not be shocked to see a cancellation of future films that are involved with the Snyder selected actors, and a new direction being taken by Warner Brothers as far as the future of the DC cinematic universe. I would not be shocked. I'm not saying that that's what I'm expecting, but
Sure.
I wouldn't like as it stands that doesn't look like the direction that they're going to go. But I wouldn't be surprised if that's a decision that they make, especially in, again, I'm going to use the term again, but in a different way, the limbo that we are in with the pandemic having held up so many different production things.
Right.
It's like how are people's attitudes going to be revisiting all of these things? How are the actors going to want to be involved after having seen the Snyder Cut or necessarily the fans' reactions to the Snyder Cut? So again, I'm not saying that I'm expecting it, but I would not be shocked if there's a cancellation with the Snyder selected actors' films, and then Warner Brothers redirects their attention towards a long game of a new DC cinematic universe.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, it really, really, really depends on what they do with this new Batman film for me to further solidify that theory.
I think tonally too, the trailer that we've gotten from Matt Reeves' version of Batman and Pattinson's version doesn't feel tonally like I could see his character going into a Justice League, especially the way that they're talking about. It's grounded. It's a noir detective story. Like,
right.
It is going back to the roots of Nolan's version of that character. And I just don't see that character belonging alongside of demigods and Kryptonians. Like,
that's what I'm talking about.
See that happening.
Do you not feel that would create a very unique perspective though? Because that's something that we haven't seen yet.
I agree.
How would his grounded character be able to deal?
That would be amazing if I had any confidence in the intelligence of the WB. If the WB said, we hired this man's going to be our Kevin Feige, trust in us that we have plans. They haven't done anything like that. So I have no hopes that that's what they're doing. And I also have no hopes for them to toe the line of planting the seed versus just going full on universe when they don't need to, expanded universe. I don't have any confidence that they could do that. They've clearly been able to do the one-off really well with Joker. And I feel like they're going to do the one-off again because they're trying to get back to that Nolan time. But again, if it's too grounded, it's going to be great for Batman, but it's not going to make sense for Justice League. So that means we're going to have another Batman, and then we're going to have to start this all over again because they don't have somebody like Kevin Feige with the foresight to say exactly what you said, Seth, to plant the seeds. If I had any confidence that somebody in WB's hierarchy had that level of intelligence, I'd be all on board with that. But I see myself getting heartbroken again.
So let's redirect to a theory that I feel is a lot more far-fetched, but I would love a lot more than seeing a new Justice League in the Matt Reeves esque style that we are seeing with the new Batman series. Like, what ends up being one of my it's one of my favorite stories in the Batman universe, and it would work really well in the grounded nature that we get there, but it also would require another Joker character. It's the Under the Red Hood film, animated series, and in the comic. But coming off of the Arkham games, a missing element that we've seen in almost all of the more recent iterations of Batman has been Robin, Nightwing, Red Hood, Batgirl. Let's see, instead of a DC cinematic universe, let's see the Batverse. Let's see them explore a little bit more into that gritty world that we could see, and not necessarily with all of them, because they're doing a good job with Titans. I mean, like the Titan side of things, as far as that's been concerned, like they're doing an okay job there. I'd be interested to see if they are going to have Matt Reeves' side be connected to a wider universe, have it be a tighter universe specifically around just that character. And let's tell some stories that haven't been told in live action before, which I would love to see a live action rendition of Under the Red Hood or Mask of the Phantasm.
Believe it. I would too. But that's WB's problem, is that they know that their biggest property right now is Batman. And Dude, I'm a Batman fan. Behind all these things are Batman. I'm never going to say we've got too much Batman, but I know that the more they spend time on Batman, the less they spend time on developing all of their other properties. I mean, Iron Man was at the bottom of the list for Marvel, and yet he's the pivotal point of the MCU because they spent the time to build up these other guys. If all they do is keep on hitting Batman again and again and pulling from Batman stories, then they're not going to give any of these other great properties a chance. And when they do, they're going to do it, sloppily, like they did here, or like they did with Green Lantern. I mean,
I will say that I'm normally the cynical one, but I'm coming off as a lot more hopeful than you are.
You are, man. You've got a lot of optimism.
I gotta say,
right
I have to say, because we have to close this out soon, because it's creeping up on.
It's almost
sleep
Zack.
time
It's
for me.
almost Snyder Cut time.
Yeah, well, yeah.
We're almost at that 4-hour mark.
I would love to be I would love to be more cautiously optimistic as far as the future of DC goes, rather than cynical towards the amount of changes
Maybe it's the
that they
Gotham
have to
City
make
in
to
me.
establish side of things. Yeah, maybe. There you go. Nice
To
callback.
take a line.
I want to be cautiously optimistic about what the future can bring.
Yeah.
And again, you know what? Like if they pull to another franchise, if you get the right creative mind behind a project,
Yeah.
you end up getting Clone Wars. You end up getting The Mandalorian. You end up getting Dave Filoni. Like if
What they need. It's what they need.
if you find the right creative mind, great things can happen. And so it would be again maybe far fetched.
I know I did miss it, Derpy. I know it was a choice between this and that, but yeah, I missed it.
We chose. Yeah, I have no interest in red carpet BS either. Like it's.
I didn't know if it would
celebrity
happen with
stuff.
all the Microsoft Teams problems they had on Monday.
Yeah, that too. They had quite a bit of a kickoff issue there. You find the right creative mind, some crazy things can happen because, I mean, Clone Wars did not start off on a good foot with most fans.
Nope.
And then, and even when it was starting to go well, Ahsoka did not come off well amongst fans. And before you knew it, people were freaking out at the trailer for season 7, and Ahsoka was everybody's favorite.
Hell yeah.
So you get the right creative mind behind a project. And I know that there's somebody in Warner Brothers Rolodex of people that they haven't contacted yet who understands these characters on that level and could do them justice.
Well, hurry up.
And they
find that person.
I don't know that they have actually entrusted him with anything. Maybe it's Matt Reeves. I know that that's not a scenario that you like because of the grizzled and grounded nature that they're portraying. But I mean, again, if it's the right creative mind and he can tell a story in the correct way, let's see what it comes out with. Let's get some final thoughts. Josh, what's you got something? Or I'm sorry, Cap, you got something loaded here.
Yeah, so just a real quick point, like they tried that with Justice League when Snyder was still on it. They put on John Burke and Jeff Johns, and Variety did a article a couple weeks ago that like sat down and talked about like recounting the story of, Snyder Cut and like all the behind the scenes drama that got there. And he's like, they basically were put on the set to babysit me and to kind of like take notes of everything. And I like the idea though of a Batman extended universe, but like Josh was saying, like I don't want that burnout for that character. Like I feel like for a short period of time, like that was all their animated movies were. It was just Batman, Batman, Batman. And I found myself
for the most part.
Yeah, still like I find myself like really burnt out on that idea of, because DC has such a rich pool of characters, whether you're talking about the New Gods, whether you're talking about Satana, Birds of Prey, Black Canary, freaking Titans, all of these other characters that we just haven't explored yet. And I want so badly to explore the other areas of these DC Universe movies. I think moving forward, a lot of what you're going to see as far as like they're going to get away from those team up movies or that are on the scale of Justice League, but they're going to be more on the scale of like Thor Ragnarok, where you have two heroes, baiting together. And I think that's going to be the smart move, is because you're basically like having to reacquaint your audience with these concepts and regain their trust, especially after what you did with Justice League.
They got a lot of ground to cover. Yep.
Yeah, and
a lot.
Should Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League be received well, which I think most fans are thinking it will be, HBO Max is kind of always a other avenue where they could explore further adventures in that universe. I know fans have been really hoping for that Joe Manganiello, Ben Affleck movie for a while, possibly series. So I don't know.
I mean, maybe AT&T just needs to smack a WB around a little more. Maybe they're the ones with somebody in their Rolodex that says, you know what? WB, you just couldn't fucking do it. So we're bringing in the big guns. We're going to take this over because they made this choice. WB did not, and WB, God, I love WB. Come on now. They're associated with so much great stuff, but to see them being such little bitches lately is just annoying. Grow the fuck up. Grow the fuck up.
Like,
find
petty.
a way to it's so petty. It's so petty.
It's
not even funny.
Let's end the pettiness and move forward.
Move forward. Be great
you didn't
again.
Get, you didn't get what you want,
that.
and you can't always. So
just be what you could be. Anyway, Josh, thanks so much for joining us, man. I always have a good time hanging out with you. Hell yeah, for 4 hours hanging out with you and Seth. This has been
4
fun.
straight hours. This was a hell of a watch party. This is a hell of a finale to our DC watch parties. Nerfers, thank you for watching. You guys can look forward to our review of Snyder Cut on an upcoming nap as soon as me and Josh both get the chance to actually watch the video. Josh, Cap, I want to thank you also for coming in on this. For Nerfers who want to see more out of him, you can catch him on Victims and Villains on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all those fancy places. And
Jared,
if you liked this video, if you liked this 4-hour video, I fucking hope that you liked this. If you were here at the 4-hour mark, if you liked this video, hit the like button. If you didn't, hit the dislike button. Be honest, we can take it. Hit us up in those comments. What did you think of Batman vs. Superman, this Ultimate Edition? Did you watch it along with us for the first time? If so, I'm sorry, but not sorry that we talked to the whole damn thing. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can catch all of our future content as well as our regular weekly podcast. And until next time, have yourselves a good night.
See ya.